than consciousness info. sa.neter TV7. You keep it hot 24/7. You got that black for 102. sa.neter TV2. Yeah.
You are now inside sa.neter Studios. The House of Consciousness production. Black news presentation.
All right, peace and Black Power family. Welcome to another sa.neter TV House of Consciousness production. We got a powerful guest here tonight, and I think this show is going to be real interesting. So y'all stay tuned, and let's just check it out, and let's see what my man OTK got to say, got to bring. And without any further ado, I introduce you to OTK. Peace and Black Power, brother. What's up? Unmute yourself.
Man, peace and love, Uncle sa.neter, man. Appreciate you for having me on the show. You know what I'm saying about this American Indian slave trade in the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade. I'm planning to have a good bill with you tonight. You know what I'm saying? And maybe we can do it. It's so much. You know what I mean? It's so much that, you know, that it definitely can't be done in one show. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we definitely gonna have a volume 1, 2, or maybe 3 series here. So this is not no just microwave information right here. This is gonna be deep right here. So with brother, would you like questions first and then you can start, or after?
It's up to you. Whatever.
Okay, well, I'll ask a couple of questions and then I can ask. No, matter of fact, go into your presentation first. Let's get that going.
Okay. Well, I didn't put it together in a PowerPoint, but I got some stuff that I'm gonna show. It's in the back already, and I'm gonna read through a couple of things. So we're just gonna touch. We're gonna touch about the beginning of the American Indian slave trade.
Yeah, there you go.
You know
that's what we're talking about.
That people don't know about.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about, y'all, brother. OTK, American Indian slave trade in the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade. That's the topic here tonight. Let's go. You got the floor, brother.
Right. And they can look up where we get this from. You see where it's coming from. It's coming from the Gilder Leman Institute of American Indian History, or American History. They do a lot of American Indian history. So this right here, this actual piece right here, is written by Bartholomew de la Casa and Juan Guinness. You know what I mean? So it's like the debate about the substitution of the subjugation about the American Indians that they're encountering in these islands in the Caribbeans, Hispaniola, or what we call today Haiti and the Dominican Republic. The other conjoining islands coming on into the top part of Brazil and going into Mexico. All right. So it say the story of the European colonialism in the Americas and its victimization of Africans and Indians follow a central paradigm. And let's get this right. I'm never one of the ones who say that it was never no Africans, or what we would call today Africans, wouldn't brought on no transatlantic slave trade or any kind of slave trade. I would never make that bold claim like that. There's too much information out there to even make that bold claim. What we're trying to show is that the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade started with American Indians and not what we will call today Africans. All right. So the African role encompasses the transportation, exploitation, and suffering of many millions in the New World slavery, while Indians are described in terms of their succumbing in large numbers to disease, with the survivors facing depossession of their land, their paradigm, a basic one in the history of colonialism, amidst a crucial aspect of the story. The indigenous people of America were enslaved in large numbers. The exclusion distorts not only what happened to American Indians under colonialism, but also points to the need for an assessment of the foundation and nature of European overseas expansion. Without slavery, slave trade, and other forms of unfree labor, European colonization would have remained extremely limited in the New World. The Spanish was also almost totally dependent on Indian labor in most of their colonies, and even where unfree labor did not predominate, as in the New England colonies. Colonial production was geared towards supporting the slave population complex of the West Indies. Thus, we must take a closer look in the scope of the unfree labor and the central means by which the European generated the wealth and fostered the growth of colonies. Modern perceptions of early modern slavery associate and institute almost solely with Africans and their descendants. Yet slavery was an ambiguous institution in the early modern world. Africans, Asians, Europeans, and Native Americans kept slaves before Columbus reached America. Enslavement meant the denial of freedom for the enslaved. But slavery varied greatly from place to place, as did lives of slavery. And this is the life of a Genizaro. So I also, which is a slave soldier, but I can also pull up all of these terms too. So it goes into all of these places, which it starts from over there in Africa, which had already been a big business. So the life of a Genizaro, a slave soldier of the Ottoman Empire who enjoyed numerous privileges and benefits, immensely differed from an American Indian who worked in the silver mines of Peru or in an African who produced sugarcane in Barbados. People could be kept as slaves for religious purpose. Aztecs, Pacific Northeast. So now we already know slavery was going on everywhere. Everywhere. So we're going to drop down to here because there's some major points that I just want to make out of this real quick about this indentured servitude stuff and people who was coming across on contracts who also be acting like they're slaves. So in the wake of the death of the indigenous Americans from European conveyed microbes from which they had no immunity, the Spanish colonies turned to importing Africans. We got to watch that because, and another thing I'm going to show you is that we built up an immunity to it. A racist and gross misinterpretation of this event. So it's already letting you know it's a misinterpretation of that all the American Indians died of this smallpox disease and all of this. That's race and gross. It's a misinterpretation of this event. Posted it that most Indians could not be enslaved because of their love for freedom, while Africans were used to having their labor controlled by a big man in Africa, meaning they're used to it. So they already know when they come in across here that they're used to it. This is what he's saying. This dangerous view obscures a basic fact in early modern history. Anyone can be enslaved. Over 1 million Europeans were held enslaved in the 1530s through the 1780s in Africa. So now, the big question that we have when we talk about this transatlantic slave trade is, who are these people that they call it Africans that they're bringing across during this time? Because now we see 1 million Europeans are enslaved in Africa at this same time. So I asked them, can Europeans be called African once they go into slavery and they shipped off the African coast? Some say yes. Can Europeans be Africans? Some say yes. Okay. So in this right here, we talk about the Ottoman, which we already know about the trans-Saharan slave trade and the Ottoman slave trade and all of that. All right. Eastern Europe and Asia. So during this same time, from the 1530s through the 1780s, I want to show you something real quick, Uncle Si. With the labor at the premium of the colonial economy, there was no shortage of people seeking to purchase slaves, both before and during African enslavement in Americas. American Indians were forced to labor as slaves and in various other forms of unfree servitude. They worked in mines, on plantations, as apprentices, artisans, domestics, just like African slaves and European indentures. All right. So now they like to separate this indentured servitude from African, from slave or whatever like that. So now we see all of this is getting lumped in together. All right. So this is the narrative. So as what Africans were shipped to America, Indians were transported from their natal communities to labor elsewhere as slaves. Many Indians from Central America were transported to the West Indies as a common destination, as Indians transported out of Charleston, which I'm right next to, South Carolina, and Boston, Massachusetts. Many of the Indians were moved hundreds and thousands of miles away within the Americas. Sioux Indians from the Minnesota region could be found enslaved in Quebec. The Choctaw from Mississippi and New England. The long-standing line of transportation of Indian slaves led from modern-day Utah to Colorado, south into Mexico. So now, all of this is after wars. And that's why when we get into America, we're going to get into these wars. That's because this is happening after wars. POWs. All right. So the European trade in the American Indian was initiated by Columbus in 1493. Needing money to pay for his New World expeditions, he shipped Indians to Spain, where they already existed as slave markets, dealing and buying and slaving of selling of Africans. Within a few decades, the Spanish expanded the slave trade in the American Indians from the island of Hispaniola, which is Haiti, Dominican Republic, and little islands around that too, to Puerto Rico, Jamaica, Cuba, and the Bahamas. The great decline in India's indigenous Indian islands, populations were largely owed to disease, slaving, warfare, led to the Spanish to then raid Indian communities, Central Americas, and many of the islands just off the continent, such as Cucaraca, Trinidad, Aruba, and about 650,000 Indians in Costa Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Honduras were enslaved in the 16th century. All right, so this is the beginning of it. We talking about the islands. They got different names that they start calling them, the Tammanies. And then they got implemented in the Uncomedial system. We're going to break all of these things down when I have more time. I just want to give you a brief outlook. And let me tell you this, Uncle Side, where I'm from, what made me got into this heavy is when I was doing my research on American Indian history, being that the story that we was taught that more Africans came in through South Carolina than anywhere. And the story goes that we was taught is that if anybody from any place can trace themselves back to South Carolina, then that means that they have some kind of African lineage. I'm here to say that that's not always true, because we see in South Carolina had one of the places with the most American Indian chieftains, Virginia, because it was so big. Florida at one point, when we start giving these places names. When we look at this, we have to do our logic and our due diligence. So what made me really look at that is this next paragraph right here, Uncle Sai. Colonists participated in Indian slave trading to obtain capital. It was a free capital that could be created out of thin air. One only merely needed to capture an Indian to find an Indian to capture another in South Carolina, and to a lesser extent in North Carolina, Virginia, Louisiana, and in Louisiana. Indian slavery was a central means by which early colonists funded economic expansion. Now, when they say North Carolina, a certain time, we got to understand it wasn't North Carolina. So it would be Carolina. It wasn't even South Carolina. It would be Carolina, Virginia, such forth, and Carolina and Florida. You know what I'm saying? If everybody do history the right way. So in the late 17th and early 18th centuries, a frenzy of enslavement occurred in what is now the eastern United States. English and Allied raiders nearly depopulated Florida of its American Indian population. Now, here's what caught my attention, Uncle Sai. From 1670 to 1720, more Indians were shipped out of Charleston than Africans imported as slaves. So now, once I stumbled across this, Uncle Si, it was like a game changer to me, and it made me start going more deeper into looking. And that's all I do. I study history. Don't get mad at me. You got to get mad at what the people say. If you're going to take the information of the people who's telling you that you came on a boat or you came on this slave narrative or whatever like that, then you also got to take the information that I'm giving to you right now. You know what I'm saying? That's coming from some of these same people who are not writing for us to see. They're writing for their own self and writing their own self in history. We just now know how we can get to it now because the way a level, and shout out to the elders who had their level of research, who made it to a point to where it made us say, well, damn, we always got to dig deeper, y'all. We always got to dig deeper. So, you know what I mean? Shout out to them, man. You feel me? But yeah, Uncle Si. So what you think about that, man? When you hear something like that, and this is supposed to be the height of the transatlantic slave trade, Uncle Si. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, Uncle Si. What happened? Oh, okay. I bet. All right. So yeah. So I was asking you how did you felt about that, Uncle Si, but you didn't want to hear me, but it's all good. We can get into it a little later. So now let's go into
I was on the phone. I didn't want to interrupt you. I had a call that came in. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even hear you ask me. You're doing good so far. As what I see, you going in.
All right. Okay.
All right.
I bet, man. So let me get back to that screen right there. And shit, this one. All right, so that comes from the Gilded and Lehman Institute. Very good research, and I like their work. You know what I mean? So I want to show y'all. Let me show y'all the. Okay, so this is the actual. This is one of a reincarnation of the pictures of when he brought them first ones there. And from what Isabella told them, he brought like 500, y'all. Let me find that. He brought like 500 of them over there. So she was like, yo, long as they going by our laws or whatever like that, man, they cool. Boom, let them go. You know what I'm saying? And and freedom. So let me go to let me see. That's it. So this right here is Isabella and Ferdinand's 1495 on decision of an Indian enslavement. So the 4 ships bearing 550 Taínos and Arawaks, that's what we call Hispaniola or Haiti and the Dominican Republic today, and the islands are surrounding that. So captives that Columbus dispatched from Isabella on February 24th, 1495. See post February 1st through 25. He arrived at Cadiz, Spain on April 7th, 1495, as depicted in the Columbus and Coronado. And listen, I know some people out there who don't agree that his name Columbus. I agree too. The man got a bunch of names. He you know what I mean? He got a bunch of names. But we got him though, but you know, we'll leave that for the rest to try to find out. So the ships had labored 2 weeks skirting east of Isabela along the Hispaniola coast, buckling headwards, merely to obtain Puerto Rico, where they ventured northeast, encountering increasingly cold weather and inclement seas. Arriving the Portuguese island, Madeira, in late March. By then, most of the 550 have grown severely ill. The Italian, Michel Di Cuno, familiar with Genovese slave trading, and you know we Genoese, but we know that turned into the Genoese Italian family, syndicate part. Slave trading in the Mediterranean and Africa, was returning home in the fleet and perceived that the Indians were unaccustomed to the cold winter weather, whether it was brutal stowage conditions of treatment, European disease transmitted by the ship crews, or rats, or introduced on a layover at Madeira, or the winter climate. Some Taínos, 200, perished, and their bodies was thrown overboard. Now, so I'm letting y'all know that that same story that y'all got, Kasai, we got a story just like it. And one time I heard Jabari say that the indigenous people of America are stealing the African story. No, I can show you damn near similar. Every story that the African got, I can show you an American story right along with it. And that's big facts. And it's going to be earlier. So now, if you want to claim things that come earlier and the rest is a copy written of it or a story of it, then ours come earlier. And shout out to the Taínos, the Arawats, and the Haitians out there, man, and the Dominicans out there. You know, so y'all can go look this up. This is Andrews Rowan Authors. This just came out 2023, New York. You know, y'all can go look up. It's a blog, but it has documents to back it up. All right, let me close that one. So now we got Americans that surrendered. My screen's still showing, right, Uncle Si?
Yes, your screen's showing, but your camera's off. Your camera is off.
Okay.
Turn your camera on.
Okay. Okay, hold on. I got to go back to that. Okay. All right, my bad. Now let me go.
All right, you good. You good, brother.
So this right here is from Brown University. I hope the things that I'm bringing up, some things are blogs, but a lot of these blogs and these writings, they have a bunch of research behind them. So this right here is coming from Brown University. This right here, I like this because this pretty much lets us know that it was people that like King Philip or Metacom that was some of the first that encountered some of the pilgrims, you know, Powhatan and all them boys was encountering the Anglos and all of that. So these are some of the people making some of the first treaties, but unwritten treaties like negotiations. And, you know, when wartime came, you know, the ones who tried to surrender not to get put into slavery still got put into slavery within the United States. So now when we talking about King Philip, now we talking about Virginia area, Delaware, Virginia, whatever, up that East Coast, that little corridor or whatever. So Providence, Rhode Island, a study in Linford D. Fisher, associate professor at the History of Brown University, finds that Native Americans, and now let's go. Uncle Si, and I like that picture behind him, but it's all good though.
Which one?
We gonna break all that down though. That one that you had.
I was sent that picture. I asked to send me a picture. I was sent that.
That ain't mine. The picture I sent you, I was in front of the fertility goddess in Cosomo, Mexico. I see
what you're saying. What happened was I just used your picture and I just took everything out of the background. But I got what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I should have just threw it up like that, right? You want it?
Everything good. But check it. So
hold up.
Go ahead.
Is this the picture you wanted, right?
Hold on. Let me go back to you real quick. Yeah. So I was out there actually in Mexico, boots on the ground.
Okay. Okay, my bad. What I did was when I made the flyer, I just took everything out and left you there. That's what I did. But I didn't know you wanted the background like that. I would have left it. But I'll make another flyer for you, brother, and put this in the back. As soon as we finish, I'll put the new one on the cover.
I bet.
Gotcha.
All right. Yeah, man. And another thing too, Uncle. Well, I'll wait because you might ask me that question. I don't want to get into that because you might ask me that question. But one thing that we know, Sai, when you hear the word Native Americans, at one point we know that they were saying the American Indians was Native Americans until a certain year when it got applied to a whole nother group. It got applied to actually a group of white immigrants first. The first set of white immigrants was calling themselves Native Americans when the other immigrants was coming to try to separate themselves during this eugenics time. So with that being said, that Native American of today is not an Indian. I can't say they're not an Indian. They probably got some lineage within them, but that's not us. I'm an American Indian. Okay, I'm a Native American when we speaking of history at certain times, but we know what year we talking about. So, all right, let me keep going. So between 1492 and 1880, between 2 and 5.5 million Native Americans were enslaved in the Americas, in addition to 12.5 million African slaves. All right, now they're not saying that African slaves that came here. They just saying that African slaves in the whole. So they might be adding in the trans-Saharan slave trade, the Barbary slave trade, all of that in it. They had a couple of slave trades out there. Guyana slave trade, all that. You know, while natives have been forced into slavery and servitude as early as 1636, it was not until King Philip War that natives were enslaved in large numbers. Fisher wrote in the study, the 1675 to 1676 war pitted North American leader King Philip, also known as Metacom, and his allies against the English colony settlers. During the war, English colonies routinely shipped Native Americans as slaves to Barbados, Bermuda, Jamaica, the Azores, Spain, Tangier, and North Africa. So now we talking about 1675. They're taking these American Indians over there all over the place. Spain, Tangier, North Africa, the Azores, which is the islands in the Atlantic, Bermuda, more islands, Jamaica, all of this. Taking them to the Caribbean, taking them to Barbados. But now the story that we hear today, once the 1900s come around, everybody from Barbados is so-called African. Well, how can they be African when we see this American Indian slave trade? So now, when you see this right here, this is the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade and the triangle slave trade. Because at one point, what they was doing was bringing people from Boston, New York, Virginia, all those areas up top, bringing them through South Carolina, sending them to the Caribbeans. They might get shipped to Central America after that, and then they might get shipped back up top. So, or they was just rotating captures from different places. That's the triangle slave trade. So when these brothers be telling y'all that it was told in reverse or was told the wrong way, this is why. This offsets everything. This offsets everything because at the same times, we can see something happening in Africa and something is happening in Europe at the same time. Wars is going on over there, so they're dependent on the gold that's supposedly coming out of South America to fund their wars, because they all fighting against each other. Plus, they just getting rid of the Ottomans. They all came together to get rid of the Ottomans, but now they got their own problems. The Spanish, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, English, British, however you want to separate them. But yeah, so they was getting shook. So King Philip also wrote something, and he said, man, we shall have peace to be made slaves. Indians surrendered after the King Philip's War. So he thought this, but then later on he said that, man, he would rather die than be a slave or be captured by him or be captured by anybody. So now when we look at this transatlantic slave trade, we got to look at it at a whole nother lens now. And now we got to look at, when did the first so-called African come to America? Because the 1619 story is also the Pilgrim story. And they story say that the people in 1619 was free. And they don't know exactly where they came from, per se. They're using complexion to calling them African or whatever like that, which is all propaganda. It's all stigmatization, and it's all a concept. So I'm gonna stop right there, Uncle Si. And
all right, you saying that's enough of your presentation for today? Of your slides, I'm saying.
I want to. I know you probably got some questions for me. You know.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm gonna open up the platform floodgates too as well. See if the people have questions. And family, I'm gonna let y'all know. Just respect the guests. It's all right to disagree. If you disagree, my brother know how to handle himself and clear up what he's saying. Yeah. You know, but just long as you do it respectfully.
I'm gonna go get a drink of water real quick. Grab me a water out the house real quick. I'll be right back.
Yes, go ahead, brother. Go ahead. Wow. Okay, y'all. So can you ask him? Nah, brother. The joint work. I ain't gotta ask him nothing. Put some money in the Black Power machine, man, and ask your question. My super chat do work, bro. Stop being cheap all your life, man. Pay for something that you want. You know what I'm saying? Pay for something that you want. Use the super chat. Put it in the super chat. Put it in the super chat and let's get it in. Don't ask me to ask him nothing, which y'all could do for yourself. Or if you ain't got the funds to ask him to put it in the super chat, hit the link. Hit the link and come in and ask him. You see what I'm saying?
That's what I want.
Other options, man. If you ain't got the funds right now, you can't afford it, hit the link, come in and ask him your question. Okay, my brother, you back, you black. So let me ask you this question. Which slave trade would you say was more devastating? The African slave trade or the Indian slave trade?
The Indian slave trade.
You saying the Indian slave trade was more devastating than the African slave trade?
Yes.
How so? Explain, brother.
Because that separated a lot of things and because to me, it's seeming like when y'all be tracing y'all DNA or so ever that so parts of Africa, I see these.
Okay, OTK. Let me stop you right there, right? Because I want to say, when you address them, don't say y'all, because you put me in that line. When you say y'all, say they be doing that. Don't say y'all, brother. I'm just you, man. That's all I am. So, yeah, explain that, brother.
Yeah, it was worse because we the ones who really like, once our people got taken over there, we really don't know what happened to them. We got to do intensive research. Like, we probably got to go over there in order to find out what happened to a lot of our peoples that got taken over there. You feel me? But when
I understand what you're saying. But when you really,
that's way more serious for us saying that we've been here in America and we can trace our lineage here. When we do our genealogy, we trace ourselves here.
When you look deeper into it, there has been no other people who've been stripped of a thorough knowledge of self. And when I say a thorough knowledge of self, I'm talking about their names, their language, their culture, they God, they folkways, they mores, and they norms, other than African people, brother. No one have been stripped of that. Go ahead, talk to me.
Can you prove that y'all been stripped of y'all info and y'all knowledge?
That's easy. All you got to do is look at us right now on YouTube. We are Hebrews. We are Moors. We are Muslims. We have the biggest identity crisis in the world, brother.
The thing about that identity is bloodline.
Hold on. Check this out. When we were amongst our people, we knew who we were. We spoke our languages, brother. We get over here and we've been stripped of all of that for 300 plus years. You know, I don't think Native American Indians been whipped for 300 years.
Yes, we've been in wars for 400 years.
Okay.
Let me stop you right there. This book right here, American Indian Wars, from 1492 to 1880. This is all the wars of America. We really had the wars for 400 years. Right here in North America. Ain't no other people fought more than us.
Hold that book up.
Right there. Encyclopedia American Indian Wars. Don't let the cover fool you. You know.
Okay, you're right. Yeah.
Second edition and all that. Yeah. But Si, I call cap on that too, Uncle Si, though, because a lot of those stories y'all can't prove. No, they can't prove those stories. You can't just take one or two people's story and inflate it for a whole group. Like, I can't say that what happened to my people's them over here in South Carolina, my part of my American Indian chieftain that I'm from, happened everywhere in South Carolina. No, that is not right.
All right. Not right. Let me ask you this, brother. You identify yourself as a Native American Indian.
No, American, not Native American.
Oh, American Indian. Okay, American Indian. Are you a pure American Indian, or would you say you are mixed with African? You have been mixed with African blood.
That's still an ongoing search. Nobody, boy, doing genealogy is a long search. But as I so far, no. It's different American Indians from different places, though.
Hold on. Let me see. Hold on, bro. Move up to the camera again. Move up a little bit.
I know. So that's the problem. So
you got that big African nose, brother. You got that melanin. You saying you ain't got no African blood?
I got chestnut skin, but hold on, Si.
Oh, man.
Hold on. I work outside, Si.
All right. Okay. That's the sun.
I've been doing landscaping for 30 goddamn years and irrigation. But we got a different type of heat here. But Si, hold on. Let me pull up something real quick for you, real quick.
Okay, while you doing that, let me get another question. It's estimated that over 12 million African people were captured and transported through the horrific Middle Passage. Is this information true, brother?
You got people who deal with that, but I don't think so.
Oh, you don't think that information is true?
Because what they're starting to say now is out every 100, 64 died on the voyage. Another 24 died because of sickness, and then another 15 or something died within the first 3 years of the colony. So
Okay.
I mean, you do the
Turn
math
your
with
camera,
that.
turn your camera on. Turn your camera on.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, I'm searching up something real quick, and
Okay.
then I'm going.
So what about the accounts of over 2 million Africans dying during the transport of transatlantic slaves? Explain how that is not true.
Can you prove that it is true?
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you the question.
I'm asking you, can you prove that it is true with the info that you're getting now? Because the people off of slave voyages and stuff like that has been getting interviewed.
Okay.
This is all assumption work. This is all guesswork. It's all theories. Remember, it's a narrative. The transatlantic slave trade is a narrative. But let me share this screen right here. Hold on. Oh, they not letting me. Let me share this. Stop that screen.
So now you know, brother. Quick. After you finish,
I like y'all. Hey, y'all like to do looker shit over here, just like the census takers used to do looker shit, and that's how they used to classify people. They try to say these people had goddamn African ancestry when it wasn't no blood test and none of that being taken. So how can they just say somebody got African ancestry? All right, so you sharing my screen right now?
Yes, your screen is sharing, brother.
So South Carolina, this is the Edawans. This is where a chieftain that came into Amman, who I told you about yesterday, the Edawans and the Buchewi. All right. So now these are the alternate spellings, mint pine trees, which we got plenty of goddamn pine trees. So now today you got the Wassamatcha tribe of Burnatown. Now these people of today, these people here look a little different, and they tell you they got plenty mixture in them, but they are descendants of the American Indian chieftain. The name Edawan is extinct, but they go into Wassamatcha and they go also into the Somerville Indians. So they got moved. I'm gonna show y'all a removal act where they lost their land or they sold their land. So in 1670, English settlers who arrived on Daniel Island from Barbados finds the Edawans inhabiting the area. By 1707, the Edawans had migrated to the Goose Creek area. Reverend Francis Lejeune described the Edawans as having a deep chestnut color, hair black and straight, their eyes black and sparkly, no hair on their chin, and well limbed. During the Yamasee Wars, the Edawans fought with the Yamasees. The Yamasee War ended where I'm from in Goose Creek, South Carolina. So now, sa.neter, you just was using me as looking at me and calling me an African because of my complexion.
No, I didn't call you an African. Hold on, brother. I never called
you. You said that it's no way that I cannot be mixed with no African because of my complexion, correct?
But I didn't call you an African. I didn't say you an African.
Nah, you didn't call me African. Nah, you just said I was mixed with it, right? So I'm letting you know.
Right.
Do you know what chestnut color look like?
What it look like?
Like me, brother.
Like all right. Me. Okay. Let me bring in 904Ds. What it is, man? How you, brother?
What's happening, big brother? So I had to come in for this. I love this topic.
You love this?
I just love this topic.
Let's go.
I have a simple question for the brother, and I want him to be able to answer it in a scientific manner with archaeology too, because we can look at paperwork and we can look at books and people said this, and I feel that. But science, I think we all can agree, trumps all of this. Now, there are some people who are going to say no, but now you have a refrigerator full of science, you're typing on science, you're driving science. So, yeah, science trumps all of this. So, my question for the brother is, if you've always been here, how did your people get here? Answer that in a scientific manner using archaeology. Because those other Indians, we see and we know how they got here. For the people who are saying that they're black people and they've always been here, please enlighten us how you got here.
From my mom and my daddy.
Roaches come from their mama and daddy too, but can you science? So all right. So that
you already know.
So you can't answer that.
If you already know the creation story, why would you ask me some crazy shit like that?
Because I wanted you to jump out that pseudo window. Because you can't answer it scientifically. You can jump out that pseudo window now and say y'all popped out the ground like some mushrooms.
So does science say you come from monkeys? Does your science trace you back to monkeys?
Nobody's science says that.
So what science are you talking about that proves that you come from Africa?
The accepted science, who has not just said it, they've shown it. Now, understand that. They've shown
What they showed.
They've shown. So you've never done the research, you've never read up on it, you don't know anything
showed, bro. Cool out.
Medicine.
What they showed. Quit all your mouth talking
genome,
right now. What have they showed?
The DNA, the genome. They have. We have archaeology. DNA. DNA. Let's go with that.
I don't rock with that shit. I rock with.
So you cherry pick science.
No, hold up. You never asked me. How you
all right, go ahead.
Damn, ask me what I agree with first, bro. Before you just jump out the fucking pseudo window.
You just said you don't rock with it.
Don't you know science created pseudo? Don't you know science?
Sorry, he ain't ready.
You're muted.
Oh, OTK. There's no profanity, brother. There's no profanity. You see my people in the building, no cussing. That goes for everybody. I accept it. But also I want to say, remember, y'all, we just doing information. Let's respect each other. Let's ask the question. And ain't no reason to turn up on one another. Let's ask a question. We ain't got to accept the answer. Let's move on from it. That's all I want to say. We don't want to get too crazy with it. All right. Let me go back to KOT and D's. I'm gonna come back to you. Let me get the panel first. I'm gonna come right back to you.
OTK, not KOT. OTK.
OTK. My bad. Damn, I got all these alphabets in there. I be getting mixed up. OTK. My bad.
Yeah.
Nepal. You have a question, Nepal?
My bag. And when I miss and curse like that, 1,000 pardon, my brother, I wouldn't curse
you. Yes, I accept your apology. It's good. It's all right, brother.
And the other brother too, I would apologize to you. 1,000 pardon and cool.
Right. Okay, Paul, you can ask your question.
Yeah, peace, everybody. Peace, OTK. I just wanted to ask you about the Middle Passage. You don't disagree that it took place, or do you say it completely is? I just want to get you to clarify for us. You do say that there was a transatlantic African slave trade, or no?
Yeah, I do believe that, you know what I mean, something happened. I just don't believe the numbers that they give us, or, you know what I mean, the way that they describe it happened the way it happened. Because we can see conflicting evidence now as we doing and getting into more research. We can see conflicting evidence of these things.
Right.
So we're not saying that it didn't happen. I'm definitely not saying that.
So let me just ask you this question, and you maybe this will get more get the conversation going in a direction that I'm curious about. So if you say it did, let's say it did happen. Well, I say it happened, but for you, just acquiesce. Would you say that the Black people of America are predominantly descendants of the Africans, or predominantly descendants of what you say American Indians?
No, I don't believe everybody over here that look like us are descendants of American Indians. No, we are all not the same.
Okay.
That's why you got to do your genealogy. That's why you got to do your genealogy, and you got to do your research on your family first, your area first, before you try to tell somebody else who they are.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that for everybody, for myself first and everybody. So I'll pass the mic. Thank you.
Great
All
question.
right, thank you, Nepal. Let me get on over to King J. I'm going down the line as y'all come in. King J, you got a question for the brother?
I do. Peace to the panel. Peace to everybody. Peace to everybody on the panel.
Peace, brother.
On this channel, we like to, source up or shut up, so we won't be able to, too many pseudoisms. The Clovis culture. We know that culture is the culture that came over through the Bering Strait. That culture would have led about 12,000 years ago. That culture would have led to, I wrote it down, the Cadouin, Plaquemine, the Mississippian culture, right? All those middle Mississippian cultures that you would later that you're probably talking about now. Are you saying that those are those Africans?
Am I saying that those are Africans?
Are you saying that those are who? Are you saying that those are who? Brother, let me ask the question, brother. Hold on. Are you saying that? Brother, are you saying that those people are us?
No, I'm not saying that they are us. The Clovis people came before us, but they also encountered the people that was already over here. Do you know about that?
Well, I would say that before
don't say well. Don't say well. Just say yes or no.
No. And I'm telling you why.
Then, well, stop. Well, therefore, you don't need to ask me about the Clovis. Because you don't even know the history.
Sir, the history is that the Clovis culture came over because brother, I'm talking, brother. Brother, this is not your channel, brother. Let's have some decor. The Clovis culture comes over after. Listen, brother.
Now it's my
brother.
Show.
We can't.
Listen,
I'm asking the question. Go ahead, brother. I'll mute my mic, brother. I'll mute my mic.
Yeah, you've been on my channel trying to do the same thing not too long ago. Don't act like you don't know me. Then you come up with this.
I'll ask my question. I'll ask the question now. So the Clovis culture.
Real quickly, can I just get some decorum real quick? So OTK, let him go ahead and ask the question, and then King J, let him answer, and then we can move on. Go ahead and ask your question, King J. Ask it again clearly.
Exactly. Thank you. So this Clovis culture the point that I'm making, I'm asking about the Clovis culture is the Clovis culture are the Paleo Indians. They are 80% DNA of all the Indian populations of North America. They are the group of the culture who came across the Bering Strait. So they are the paleo of everything on this continent. So that's why I'm asking his brother, who because so he said they encountered people before. Brother, you're cutting me off. Brother, you're cutting me off mid-point, brother. It's not your turn.
You're not asking a question. You're making a statement.
I don't need you to brother. Let me make my statement, brother.
Ask your question, King J. Ask your question.
Without him cutting me off. So the point that I'm making and the question that I'm making the point and asking the question at the same time. The point that I'm asking him, are we these people? But I'm giving him information at the same time, letting him know that there was no people before the Clovis culture came here. It was an ice age before. It was the Bering Strait it was inhabitable. So what you're saying is made up.
Was all of America ice age?
Before they
was
got
all
here,
America under ice? Was the South under ice? Now, this how quick these questions gonna go, Uncle Si. was all in the South underneath ice.
Before they got here, yeah.
That's a lie. That lets us know you don't do no research, bro. You read something on Wikipedia, bro.
King J, let him talk. Let him talk, King J. Let him talk.
Wikipedia, bro. Listen, you don't even know the story or the myths and the shit that the Clovis people say about the people that they encountered over here, who taught them what they know. See, you don't know about these things because y'all don't study American.
They encountered nobody was here, brother. Nobody was here. You made that up.
All right,
King made that up.
All right. Let me move on. We got Sister Freedom in the building. What's up, Sister Freedom?
Peace and love. Hi. Hey, everybody. Hey, Nepal. How you doing?
Hi. How are you, Robin? How are you doing?
I'm doing.
What you coming in here to say about the slave trade?
Girl, it ain't even about this is Anyway, let's just make one thing. Something sa.neter said that made me get on here when he said about Africa and the people was there. This was stolen, that was stolen, their names, their way of life. Well, when we had the undone invaders over here with the copper colored people here, they changed everything for us too. They came over here, invaded the people. They stole our land. They made us move from our places. They changed our language, way of life, the whole thing. So, and it's been many a slave trades. But this is one thing that I wanted to make clear. So just keep that in mind. The invaders came over here, stole the land from the people that were over here. Okay, this to make sure we keeping that part clear. Okay, and they still doing it over here to this day. Now, when supposedly Christopher Columbus, I'm asking you this, OTK, in the 1492s, we all hear this made up story about him coming over here. He thought he was in India, even though that was a little twisted because the people over there is dark. And and keep in mind the name Indian is a nickname, a misnomer for indigenous people. In the 1400s, when he supposedly came over here, he did not call the people Africa.
Nope.
Or African. He didn't call them nothing like that. We have the copper colored people on this land. Every time somebody encountered us, they named us different things, and none of them was African until Johnny come lately. We're now called African Americans. Okay, don't forget we was called Negro, colored, black, Indian, and all these other names in between. And here all of a sudden, Johnny come lately, and in my time, we've been called now African American. Why didn't Christopher Columbus call us Africans? I'm just trying to figure it out. Why do you think? Because we are the same.
I can tell you why Christopher Columbus didn't call us African. All right. Let me tell you how. Number one, first I want to say to my brother OTK, see how I allowed freedom to explain without asking a question? You gotta let the other people do the same thing, brother. You got to allow them to explain, and then they can go into their questions. So you would have a better answer to it. Because you know where they're coming from. That's all I'm saying. So let me tell you how, Sister Freedom.
Okay.
Because we didn't call ourselves Africans. There was no such thing as Africans over here. You see what I'm saying? Hold on. We called ourselves by our names that we go by. We didn't say we were Africans. If you go to Africa right now, they don't call themselves Africans. They call themselves by the names of where they live.
You just stuck yourself.
Because he done been listening, and I'm proud of you.
That's why Christopher Columbus didn't call them Africans. The Africans come from Jesse Jackson, where he started saying African Americans. Because we had no identity. We didn't know what to call ourselves. So he came around. We don't call ourselves African Americans.
I got a question for the panel that pertains to the topic.
Hold on, brother. You got to wait till I call on you. until it's your time.
When it so-called became Africa or Afrique for the 10,000 miles over there in the North Part, when they started calling it Africa, they still didn't call us African.
Right.
Even in the 18 or 1700s, when they start calling the people over there of dark hue African, they still was not calling us African.
And we didn't call ourselves African.
Right, hold on. No, hold on, bro. I gotta go right after freedom. I got Big Cloud in here. Cloud.
I don't know.
Can I answer her question though?
No, I don't need you to answer.
Yeah.
I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to OTK and sa.neter.
Oh.
Because sa.neter made a statement, first of all, about they took our land, they stole us from our land, that's what started it all off. Then when they came over here, they stole the land from over here. Y'all heard of the Trail of Tears and all that, but we had to be moved and all this here kind of stuff because they were stealing our lands, and they changed our language, gave us Christianity, gave us Islam, everything that we're doing over here. They did what you claiming to happen over Africa. They did that over here too. Okay. And there's distinctive change, the features that are not there too. But that's my opinion. That don't have to be, But we do know that they took people from America and took them over into what we call Africa now, started Liberia and all them different places over there too. But I'm just trying to figure that out. If they knew we were so-called African in the 1700s, 1800s, why weren't they calling us African? All I know was my family came from the Powhatans, I'm thinking of some of these names, Blackfeet, all the names that my family came from. My family talked to me about from King William County, Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, and in different places. When I was a little girl, I ain't go to school with no Africans. Okay, ain't seen none.
All right, Sister Freedom, let me move on.
Ask you, wait a minute, one question, sa.neter, since you about my age. Did you go to school with Africans? Because we had this question before, be honest.
No, we didn't have the people from the continent wasn't over here like that. You had a very little bit of them. Come on, man, I'm a 63 baby. So you ain't had people from the continent over here like that.
No, but if it was all these millions, zillions.
They ain't really had continental Africans over here like that.
You were the continental African.
No, why do we have to be African?
No.
We are. Why do we have to be African? What is the significance? Do you know
Hold on. For you, my brother Keon, I am not the continental African. I am a diaspora African.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm diaspora. I'm not the continental, brother. Diaspora.
Exactly.
Okay, totally different, brother. So we didn't have the continental, like King J said, over here during that time.
Nah, but I was just saying, she was like, where's the continental African at that time? I was just saying, well, you were the African, not the continental
Absolutely
African.
Not. You can't.
All right, let me move on. I'm gonna come back to y'all if I could. Let me get Big Cloud in the building. What up, brother? You done changed your name, man? What's happening?
Yeah, no, my name always been
You're
the same.
Indian too now, brother?
Yeah, I always had one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Always had one. Shout out my brother OTK. Shout out my OG sa.neter. You did what I'm talking about. Everybody in the chat and the panel, man. Great build. I want to build a little bit on the fact that you
hold on, 1 minute. Hold on. I want to let OTK know because he's my guest. Whenever you want to jump in, brother, let me know, brother. Let me know. If you want to respond to a question, let me know.
I was just practicing my decorum.
Okay.
I was practicing my decorum, man. That's all.
All right, brother. Go ahead, Big Cloud.
There are many assumptions being made here today, OTK. First of all, good bill. You brought out a couple different things I like to point out. That there is an assumption, right, being made that we are somehow African, right, because scientists said so, right? Is that a scientific fact, or is the outer Africa still a theory? That's my first question. Is it a theory, or is it actually proven facts, or is it facts just behind a theory?
It's
It's still a theory today.
It's a theory.
It's a scientific theory. It's a scientific
It's a
theory.
scientific. It's a theory. It's a theory.
Hold up, though. But a scientific theory, what is that? You have
ain't no scientific theory.
Scientific theory. What is that? Science is
To
always
him, it gives it more legitimacy. That's what it is.
No.
Wait, I want to clarify what he's. Are you saying that the transatlantic slave trade is a theory?
No, they're out of Africa.
No, they're out of Africa. That we have to be, because we have melanin.
That's the theory. Yeah.
Right. The fact is that they're pushing a narrative of evolution where they're saying that because you have melanated skin, you must be African.
No.
Correct.
No.
That is not the out of Africa theory,
not
brother.
How that goes. So the out of African theory idea is a fact because we have non-African genomes.
Hey, hold on. Everybody hold on. I mean, this is crazy to me.
Right.
Because now we saying Dr. John Henry Clark don't know what the hell he talking about. When we say that there's no out of Africa theory, Dr. John Henry Clark debated Mary Lefkowitz on that topic, and he proved it. And
hold on, watch this. Hey,
no, brother, I'm talking, brother.
Oh, I thought I was.
Now we would go as far as to disagree with the Grandmaster teacher, Dr. John Henry Clark. And we really ain't been nowhere. This man been all over the goddamn planet in Africa on fact-finding missions, studying with the grandmaster teachers and questioning the grandmasters. And we going against his teacher now?
See, the thing is,
he should have been touring the Americas. He should have been touring the Americas and all the great things that's here.
And you got to understand also, we understand that we stand on the shoulders of giants. We're just not sitting in their pockets. We're not in their pockets. They don't carry us. You dig what I'm saying? And even their work needs to be relooked at and updated, and they're not above any scrutiny. No scrutiny. This is what y'all got to understand. Everything needs to be scrutinized because we know that our government lies about everything. Mm-hmm. They lie about everything.
Nah, bro.
Hold on.
I know what you're talking about, brother.
OTK a question before I got rude.
Yeah, ask the question.
Go ahead, brother.
Go ahead.
Now, see, many don't know that we are on out of Africa theory number 5. 4 have already been debunked, right? Four out of Africa theories have already been debunked. We are on number 5 right now, OTK. So how is it, right? Before 14, even before the 1500s, when they came back and they said the story supposedly is that they start bringing Africans over here, which I don't deny. They brought some Africans, but many came over here free. They was never slaves, right? Never lost their history, never got beat, never got whipped. As a matter of fact, they owned slaves.
Big facts.
So how is it that, first of all, when Columbus gets here, he calls the people Indios, or people of God, right? And then is so many descriptions saying that these people are generally tall, well-shaped, copper-colored brown, with long black coarse hair, as in described in the book of the Anishinaabe or the American Indian. You dig what I'm talking about? Page 232. You dig what I'm talking about? Just in case anybody.
What's the question, brother?
My thing is how, before Europeans brought Africans here, right? Do we see a Negroidal people here, right? Prior to colonization and enslavement, if the people weren't already brown, copper-colored skin previous to colonization. How is that possible that they're somehow African?
What is your question, brother? So I can move forward with the. A lot of people want to get in.
How are these people? How are these people somehow African, right? Prior to the time Africans were brought over here on slave ships. How are the Americans African and they don't have no history of Africans coming to America prior to 1492 or being brought here by Europeans? How is it that they conflate the narrative that they're somehow African, but when Africans couldn't get over here?
That's a fair question.
The whole thing is it was looker shit. It was all looker shit. They saw these people and they compared them to a people who they already saw. A lot of these terminologies was being used also for times of history as far as slave trades, as far as laws, statute, acts, and we're gonna get into that, especially in South Carolina. We can see where the Indians got reclassified as Negroes. And with Negroes and Africans, when there was Africans there, it was synonymous with Indian slaves and Negro and African slaves or whatever became synonymous in 1740. So we got these acts and these laws that was happening here in South Carolina to back up what we saying. So if I show you my peoples them in the fucking cemetery, in the dang cemetery in the 1600s, and we showing you that the Negro acts and all of these stuff is coming out in the 1700s, and all these different stuff is happening in the 1800s. Come on, man, my people's done been here. We ain't come here.
Right.
I know there are people in the panel. I just want to ask you though, why is it that if the information you're saying is valid, which it very well could be, I'm not saying I dispute it, why do we have to get rid of the transatlantic slave trade or diminish the actual information that we have about the Middle Passage? Why is it that with people who claim to be Native Americans and Aboriginals or whatever, how you say it, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, why is it that you have to diminish the slave trade?
Oh no.
Good question.
Oh, that is not my aim or my intention. Like I was showing you, I'm showing you that it's the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade. So after what I'm showing you, the beginning of it, later on comes the African story into it in this so-called slave trade, because they've been already doing it with our people them from the islands, our kinfolks them from the Caribbean, some would not come folks or whatever. From the Caribbeans, them islands, the things that they was doing to them, they already did it and had it down pat before African even come over here. We're not trying to diminish the story. We're not trying to diminish the story. We just trying to say, when y'all tell that story, y'all need to tell that American Indian story along with it.
Okay, let me tell you why that's a problem. Because even you said when you read your information, you said about 500, that is readily available information about Columbus taking Native Americans back to Spain. You said about 500 were taken there. We know that there were 12.5 million African people taken from Africa on the Middle Passage. Whether people want to say only 400,000 survived, that's okay. That's what people are trying to say from your neck of the woods. If you want to say that,
that number is even lower now, and many come to North America.
OTK, this is the problem. Let me just get my whole point out, because this is that's diminishing the slave trade. When he asked you which was worse, you said Native American slave trade. It's basically non-existent compared to the African slave trade. The amount of people, the length of time that it lasted, and the amount of people that were affected that were of African descent, African origin, it's just, the number is astronomical compared to the and it's sad that we have to do this to defend ourselves as African descendants, to compare someone's suffering to another. But you said the African slave trade was not as damaging, or whatever sa.neter asked you. You chose the Indian slave trade. It seems like to be able to claim being Abos or American Indians, you have to attack the African slave trade, and this could never happen amongst Jewish people. You would be totally ran out of the entire community if you stood amongst Jews, which people have tried to do, and said, oh, it wasn't 6 million in the Holocaust. But with us, we're so destroyed. We have such destruction in our DNA with the epigenetic coding of slave trauma that now we're actually attacking the people and the suffering and trying to diminish and almost make it as it's not as serious as it was, just so we can claim to be another people. And that's what I see. So now I'll hand the mic back over.
Let me please get with that. Please. Please.
I'm definitely saying is some respect to get put on my ancestors, them names who was in these things, and other people ancestors who also went through the same type of stuff. Excuse me, I'm sorry, Queen. Same type of stuff, but before anything about any African was written, it was going on with us. So we can't forget about that. That's the problem. We wasn't taught that in the South. We was not taught. You know what they brainwashed us with in the South? Colored, Negro, and now you African American, being inside this Bible Belt where I'm from. Okay. So when I talk to my peoples them from up north, they tell me they already know that, yeah, some of their peoples them and they got Indian ancestry. They already know these things. Fact. And I'd be like, huh? And they'd be like, yeah, we already know this. So now I start to think about old dirty bastard who granddaddy had owned all of Central Park. Hold on now. And how he had looked. So why American Indian couldn't look like me? That's the problem coming from South Carolina. Me looking the way I look. People be doing looker stuff, chip and stuff like that, man. But bias
and racism.
All right, hold on, King. Hold on. I want to make sure I get everybody to speak. I got Keon, then I got Metal Nectar, then I got Suntan, then I have Dulcinea in the building. So what I want to say first is that to all the native Indians, the problem is not that we have a problem with you calling yourself natives. The problem is that you don't want to have no African blood. And that's the problem we have. When we talk to the natives, they say, oh no, I'm pure Indian. I don't have no African blood, knowing damn well we've been mixed, man. We all been mixed in the melting pot over here in America. But then when we say, why don't you take a DNA test? Oh, I don't believe in no DNA test. I ain't with that. You know why you ain't with it? Because it's going to connect you all the way back to the homeland, to Africa. And so you would make up hold on. And so you would make up any excuse and say, no, what I would do is I'm going to ask my great-great-grandmother. When I was growing up, I heard people's grandmothers and great-grandmothers saying, oh, no, you better get with one of those Dominican children so that in Puerto Rican, so you can have some good hair, and don't get with that because they started hating themselves right there. That's where the hating process became. During the slave trade.
So Africans was teaching their kids to hate it.
My brother. I'm not talking to you right now. Just relax. Let me go on over to Keon. Keon, go ahead, brother.
But can the OTK respond to that?
You can respond, sir. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, Keon, I'm glad. OTK.
That's a good question, Kasai, and I know you got this. You got this black African narrative, man, coming from up north. But down south, dog, we don't got that. We don't got that down south. Straight up. That came by way of the church, bro. Realness. And I'm gonna break it down. That's why I say when we get into North America, it's gonna get a little deeper because I'm gonna bring you into this AME church thing. You know what I mean? I got the info on that because I was knee deep in the AME church. Family, them boys built one of the churches around here. But yeah, man, it's crazy how y'all respect old dirty bastard, but y'all can't respect a person from the South like me that say they got American Indian. Now, sa.neter, everybody does not have African blood. I don't even know what African blood is, for one.
Mixed, I'm saying, mixed blood.
And I believe you have
everybody
you
is,
have Native American
everybody
blood.
is not mixed.
Okay.
Everybody is not mixed with African blood, or what is African blood? Can African blood be white?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Of course.
All right then. So
when I say African blood, I'm saying mixed, brother. Mixed. That's what I'm talking about. Mixture. Yeah. We've been mixed.
West African.
Not everybody, bro.
Of the Africans of the slave trade.
Not everybody.
I mean, we are mixed. I believe that you have Native American.
No, we don't all agree with that. We don't.
I
all
understand
agree
that.
With that story. That's
the problem.
Not for that story, but I don't deal with beliefs. I respect people's beliefs and I leave that alone, goddess. I swear. I don't deal with beliefs.
All right, let me go to Keon. Keon, what's up, brother?
What's good, brother? OTK, I'm not gonna come to take away your beliefs. They try to do that with me all the time, so I'm not I'm not gonna be that type of guy. But at the end of the day, I do want to ask you. So, with the people, okay, so you do believe in the transatlantic slave trade, like the people from West Africa coming to the Americas, supposedly, right? You do believe in that, right?
I believe it could have happened.
It could have happened. So who are those people today?
Wow. What?
I've been saying that.
Yeah, he's been saying that. That's why I
kind of I always say that. He believed it could have happened.
Yeah, the number. But I don't know for sure that it happened. Not the way that they said it happened. We don't know for sure. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. So
but you believe the Indian slave trade happened the way they say it happened, right?
Not the numbers. No, I don't believe all of that is true. No, I definitely don't. And I always
I agree with you. OTK, not the way they say it happened. I agree with you on that.
Say it happened. That's all, dog, because we still learning, man. It's a lot out there.
So what do you think they lied? Like why would you think they lied?
With the numbers?
Yeah.
Did one of the authors of Slave Voyage say that they made the numbers up?
Did they? I don't know. Did they?
David Eltis?
Eltis? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so he said they made the numbers up.
Mm-hmm. It was estimates. Guesswork. And he said it was based off of the research that they was able to have at that time.
Oh, okay. So this is new
limited number. So they had to guesswork, bro.
But you also know that he also says that all black people are the descendants of African slaves. If you're going to go with his information,
I don't think he said that.
He did say that in his book.
I don't think he say that. I don't think he say that.
Look at his information.
He said that black. If I'm not mistaken, I think he said people that look like this was already here. But I think his story is that they was already doing some type of trade or something and already encountering people.
No, he says that that black people of America are the descendants of African slaves.
I don't know.
No. Well, just to add context, I read David Eltis's book, and he says in 1870, he says in 1870, only a 1/10 of 1% of people were born here that were emancipated and put it on the freedom rolls or got freed in
Freedmen Bureaus.
Yeah, right. They only a 1/10 of 1% of those people were actually from, and that's out of 4.5 million so-called documented people.
He has never asserted that black people of America are descending from anywhere else besides African slaves. Whether you put those numbers, you can crunch the numbers. And yes, I do know that he has very different numbers than what we've known about the millions, but he does not ever say that Black people of America descend from anywhere else besides African slaves. And I'm talking about American Black people. I'm not talking about immigrants. You can get his information. I'm sure you guys.
When did the slave trade start?
Got it.
Yo, stop. Let me go on to Cam Netter. And then I got Suntan, then Dulcinea. Let me go through them first before we get into all of this. And I want to say thank you to OTK and all the Indians over here. I appreciate y'all being here. This is definitely a good conversation that we need to have as a people amongst us. So I appreciate that, y'all.
Can I ask one more question, sir?
Let me go to
Can I ask one more question, sir? Real quick. Go ahead.
You got American Indian blood in you? You got American Indian in you, bro?
Who you asking?
You, Uncle Si.
Yes, I do.
All right, so let me ask you this. Even though you got the African, you claim the African, but is it okay for you to claim the American Indian side too?
Yes, of course it is.
All right then. So what's the problem?
I never said.
So what is the problem if we claiming American Indian and we ain't find no African, and y'all claiming African because y'all found the African? We're not knocking
y'all denounced the African.
Yo, my brother, y'all speaking out of turn. I'm gonna have to start putting people in the back, man. He's talking to me. You know, and you next, Kim. You next. You're gonna be able to go in. You next, brother. So, what you're saying is, I never denied that we were not American Indians. What I'm saying is that's not all we are. We mix. Some of us, not everybody. You have some blacks that's here, that's Native American. I don't deny none of that. Like I said, the only thing that I argue with is when they say I'm just pure Native American, like our sister Dulcinea. She'll tell you in a minute. No, I'm straight up pure Indian. I ain't got no African blood. Right, we go in a minute. Go in. Right. So let me go on over to my man right now, Kim. Go ahead, brother.
Peace to the panel. I just want to say, Nepal, you did a good job. I was just watching the show where you was busting them heads about that sacrifice to the God of the Bible. You did a hell of a job on that. And I just wanted to say, because it sounds like they're trying to say that the transatlantic slave trade didn't happen. We know it happened at least 600 years before the Europeans ever had slaves. And it was around the time that the Arabs lost the war to Spain, if I'm not mistaken, and then they moved into Africa and they destroyed the nation state. So, I mean, what are we saying right here?
All right. So now, when you're talking about Spain taking over at Al-Andalus, it wasn't no Spain at the time. So, are you talking about when the Moors got kicked out of Al-Andalus? When they finally, all the Jews, the French Huguenots, and all of them got kicked out of Al-Andalus? Are you talking about that? Because they all supposedly came with this dude, Christopher. These are your dirty Moors that came. The conquistadors, the converts, the Moristos, whatever you want to call them. We got
I'm talking about the same Arabs that went to war against Spain, lost, and they ended up in Africa, starting the first slave trade that we know of.
The trans-Saharan slave trade? Or the Ottoman slave trade. Which slave trade are you talking about, bro? Because I brought up the story about the Ottoman slave trade earlier.
We talking about the transatlantic, right? So
nah, the transatlantic was not the Ottoman. That's the trans-Saharan. That's part of the trans-Saharan, or that's the Ottoman slave trade. When the Arabs taking people out of Africa, supposedly, and taking them over there. And then you had the Barbary.
That's the times where the African got displaced, though, right or wrong.
Oh, I don't know. That's what you say.
Anybody else, if y'all know, can answer that question.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what you say.
That's the only question I got, because it sounds like y'all trying to act like this.
It sounds like you switching your history up.
All right. No, man. I gotta keep telling y'all. Let me move on. Then once I get the panel, we're gonna have a free for all where people can speak. Let me get Suntan. Suntan is next. Then we got Dulcinea.
All right, peace to the panel. Peace to OTK. I got a question for you, OTK.
Oh, peace, Elder.
Coming from your premise and your narrative, who is your deity, or do y'all have the same deity as everybody else?
When you talk about deity, we more in a spiritual system as far as nature. We believe in things that's tangible. We know things are tangible, so we don't even believe no more. So it's a knowing. We know things. So we are spiritual people. We, you know what I mean? We more in tune with nature. That deity stuff came here, bro.
All right. Well, I asked you that because I was going to walk.
I'm talking about me, my people's them in South Carolina, bro.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm directing.
The Mayans and Aztecs, they had gods and stuff. So they said not my people's in South Carolina. Yeah.
You done? That's why I was asking, directing that question to you, because when you come from that angle right there, when you come from that line of with that answer, then you go back to Africa, because back in antiquity, man, that's what the Kemet and the ancient Egyptians did. That same sort of pattern that you just explained come from Africa. And
no.
Let me finish, bro. Can I finish?
That, Elder. No, don't.
I'm trying to finish my line of question. Then you can rebut it if you want to. But like I'm saying, it's a thing that's chronology, man. And you cannot crowbar yourself into a position where you are before antiquity. Now, if you can do that, show me how.
All right. So now I'm gonna have to ask you: can you show me where any of American spirituality comes from Africa? Let's go.
Well, see, that's just it. I'm not coming from America. I'm coming from antiquity. That's why to get
no. So where does antiquity start? Hold on. So where does antiquity start at? Antiquity starts over there because that's where they're starting writing at. None of y'all knew about America.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
So what is you talking about, bro?
What I'm trying to tell you is the same system that you just explained was back in antiquity, man. Back in Kemet, they didn't have no deity such as Abrahamic faith and all these sort of faith. They believed in the sun, the moon, the stars, the rain, all of these sort of things. What you just explained.
You say Kemet didn't have no deity.
Well, you over talking me, bro. You're not letting.
Who was Ra? Who was Ra?
Man. Ra was a mythical. Ra is a mythical character.
Was that a deity?
It's a mythical character.
Was it a deity, bro?
Listen, brother.
All deities are supposed to be mystical.
Well, all right, I'm done, man.
What is Ra, bro?
Because you got the same ideology as.
I don't got no ideology, bro. I don't got no ideology.
All right. That's it. Let's move on. We got Dulcinea on the call. Dulcinea is on you, sis.
Peace, sa.neter. Peace to the panel. Peace to my sisters from Unscrambled Minds. And peace, OTK. You did a really good job. I thought it was really good. So I wanted to get into a question based on something that was asked earlier. And I think there is a problem, we end up getting into this spot where we think we know and we regurgitate information. I've been in that spot as well. So I definitely know. And then we bring up people like David Eltis and people don't even know what he's really said or anything because they're regurgitating what they've heard. And there's interviews out with him and he's not saying the same thing. So OTK, I want to go back to when you were asked as far as what is the most scientific part as far as to show where these people in America came from. And you said mom and dad, and then they.
You still there, Dulcinea? Oh, Dulcinea.
Oh, come on, Dulcie.
She's here, but her sound is not on. Dulcinea, calling Dulcinea. You probably got to go out and come back in, Dulcinea.
And y'all quit talking about that African village that's in between Georgia and South Carolina. That's not the historical spot. That's Indian land. Do your research on that. Do your research on that, man. I'm right there next to that. I'm an hour and a half away from Savannah. I'm 3 hours away from Jacksonville. I'm on this coast. Please stop playing with us, man.
All right, she's back. She's back. Go ahead,
did you hear my question? I don't know what part I left off on, but I was just asking about the genetics and how genetic science is tied to your parents. Can you go into that? And how genetics aren't tied to the science of archaeology?
Correct. So when we dealing with science and we dealing with well, first of all, we had to look up what are these people using to come up with their DNA, with their stuff. So when we looked it up, you see that you had to have two things, which was a paper trail. You needed a paper trail, and that would link you to a reference panel. So your paper trail is your genealogy, which is your bloodline. So that's what we stand on. Ain't nothing stronger than that. Ain't nothing more stronger than what your people them tell you. And you trace it from there, because that tells anybody can tell you who you is. But if I can show you who I am because of where I come from, that speaks volume. Our problem is we got out of that. And it happened to a lot of us in the South, because a lot of us didn't leave. We wanted to choose to stay on our lands. So instead of leaving, we ended up becoming citizens, taking on Christian names, being part of the church, all of that. I'm going to bring all of that out, though. And I got family history to back it up. So everybody might be calling me pseudo right now, but when I got family history to back it up, what a lot of people might not have, that's a whole nother level. So
there you go, OTK. As long as you back your stuff up, you good. Let me ask you, Dulcinea, are you a pure Indian, or would you say you are mixed with African?
I'm not mixed with African, but I've never said I'm a pure Indian. I am mixed.
So who you mixed with? What you mixed with?
I've always said that I'm Creole. My ties are Creole, so I'm mixed Creole.
Willie Daniels is fucking out in the he's looking like, what the hell? Hey, she is what she is. Y'all can't tell her what she not mixed with.
That's the thing, man. Who can tell you who you are? That's the problem, bro. We don't tell y'all who y'all is. If y'all want to be descendant of slaves, man, y'all can keep that.
I think that's the problem right there.
Right, that's the problem.
You don't want to be a descendant, but see, they were not slaves, bro. They put the slave narrative on the story. They were POWs, brother. They were prisoners of war. They were prisoners of war. So you hear the term, oh, prisoners of slaves. You want to have slave ancestors. That's what you're afraid of. You don't want that.
No, they were still definitely slaves.
No, they wasn't slaves. They were prisoners of war, brother.
That's the story, dog. The prisoners of war. Because all of that, like I told you, I'm going to show you. I was just showing you outskirts of the numbers of where these people was getting enslaved. But I'm going to go into the wars of what was going on and how these people was getting captured or whatever. But it's all
right. Hey, you finished? Because I got Dots next.
Yes, yeah, that was my question. Thank you, OTK, and you did great again.
All right, Dots, you on the call, sis. Unmute yourself, Dots.
Sorry, y'all. Please. Good night, everyone. Hey, y'all. What's up to the people, to the chat? Okay, so real quickly, I wanted to just address the comments I had made about saying that you're American Indian because you're choosing to believe what your grandmother or great-grandmother or great-great-great-grandmother said, but won't take a DNA test, right? And a few people chuckled like, yeah. But it's interesting because let me ask you a question, OTK. How does an African, a continental African or an African, how do they recount their family history when you ask them where they're from? How do they usually do that traditionally?
From over here?
In Africa. With Africans, how do they pass down their history?
Genealogy.
Orally.
Okay, orally, meaning mouth to mouth, right? Right. Okay. And there seems to never be an issue with that. So it's okay for a continental African, right, to say, I am so and so, right? And there's no requirement for them to take a DNA test to prove it. And the reason why is because they will look at you and say, well, I know who I am. I know who my people are. I know who my family is. They don't write it down in a book. It's not sourced per se. It's oral history. And it's taken as truth. But when someone in the Americas say the same thing, it's scoffed at, it's laughed at, it's mocked. That's called, that's hypocritical. That's a hypocrite.
Right.
Okay. So I just wanted to just say that. My question though is, okay, going back to the classifications, OTK, when you had mentioned that a little bit earlier. Do you have like any information you want to share or any sources that shows how an American Indian, for example, became African?
You want me to show that?
No, I'm asking you.
Well, I did. I say
information or anything like that.
Talk about like like when we see accounts like in 1740 when they start getting classified and they become synonymous with Negroes, so they let you know that's a complexion and it's a term as in enslavement or indentured servitude. I was gonna save that, but yeah, I definitely got plenty of those. Hold up, let me see real quick. And showing that you are what your mother are and how we became free people of color. Let me hold up. Let me go out this real quick and let me get back to my main screen and I share my screen real quick. That's a good question, Doc. And I stay scrapped or something. Y'all can see that right now.
Yes.
I'll make it bigger.
Yeah, make it bigger.
Yeah, I got you. So this is from South Carolina Indians, the Forgotten Slavery. This is on archive, y'all. It's 4 pages long. It goes into the forgotten story of the American Indian slavery. Oh man, close the door. All right, so it goes into a lot, but just to what you were saying, Dots, I'm gonna go to right here, to this part right here. So the slave code of 1740 was determined, which the slave code came after the 1739 Stoner Wars, you know what I'm saying, and Stoner rebellions and all that, was going on. But you had a people that was there called the Stoner Indians. They still there today. They got Stoner Island, Stoner Bridge here still in South Carolina. That's going towards Beaufort. Eddie Stowe. You got the Edstow Indians, you got the Etowans, you got the Kiowas, you got the Santee, the Kiowas, man, they all up and down that coast, down the Gully coast, from the Ogeechee River on down, representing the Gully coast. So the Geechee Gullah people, y'all putting them all together, and I'll break that down later on too, if anybody got any contention. So the slave code of 1740 was determined the legal destiny of slave was to endure the end of the 18th century. The code dated that May 10, 1740, defined slaves, chattel property, thereby abandoning the definition of slaves continued since 1696. Slavery was thus based upon the law and its comprehension definition and not upon custom as it was in the past. Children of slaves were to follow the conditions of their mother. You are who your mother are. We a matriarchal society down here around here in American Indian way. Oh, my bad. Hold up, y'all. I'm so sorry. Okay. My bad. You are what your mother are. Boom. This was the most comprehensive slave code of the colonial period. It regulated the slave from cradle to the grave. After the enactment of 1740 slave code, Indians and descendants of Indians were regarded as free Indians or free people of color. So that's one of the times that we got changed and started getting labeled as free people of color underneath the different classification group dots. And there's plenty more.
Could you read the rest of the sentence? Because if you read the rest of the sentence, it kind of contradicts what you says. It says, with free people of color in amity with the government until the contrary could be shown to differentiate between, right, as the ending of the Indian slavery in South Carolina, right? So what you are forgetting is that nobody had brought it up either, is that it's called the indigenous slave, right? Indigenous slavery, right? And that was abolished.
What they're telling you, bro, what they're telling you is that they need identity to distinguish between an Indian and a free person of color per se, who was enslaved. That's what they're telling you.
No, that's not what they're telling you.
Oh my God! Wait, hold up, bro. Hold up, man. See, that's why I don't do this, dog. Because he came on my show doing the same thing, Si.
But brother, nobody can ever talk. Everybody, as soon as I talk, you talk over me. That's crazy.
Yeah, because
it's not your turn. That's why.
Talk, bro. Let somebody else talk, bro.
But your information you're saying is incorrect, and I'm correcting you. So that's
Okay,
the problem. I don't want the misinformation to get out.
Okay, all right. I know. There's another Indian that probably striking my channel. You probably one of the ones striking my channel.
All right, let's move on, y'all. We ain't gonna do that. Thank you, the channel.
My turn now.
No. We got Willie Daniels. Willie Daniels, let's go, brother.
But he
peace. What up, though, sa.neter, and everybody on the panel?
What's up, man?
Everybody been playing around, listening to OTK. I'm just gonna bring straight heat to it right now. OTK done been on multiple channels telling his information. And when his information came out that he said that he was an African and had African descent, now you want to flip the script and come on your channel and say he don't have any African DNA when he said out his own mouth that his grandmother or great grandmother was African. He asked him, I can ask him, OTK, who is Morris Pigney? How did he get in your genealogy? That's it right there, son. This is the death blow.
Hold up, Willie Daniels. Since you put a jacket on me, I said I was African before you put a jacket on me.
I didn't say you said you. I said you said that you had African descent. You said your great grandmother or your grandmother was African. I was on the channel when you said it.
My great grandmama was African.
You said it. YK got the video and posted the video.
Damn. I guarantee you, sa.neter, they cannot pull up no video where I said I was African. I put that on my grandmama right now. I got $100 on it right now. I cash app it to you, sa.neter. See, one thing about these American Indians, dog, we don't deal with these lies. We put our weight on shit around here. You know what I'm talking about? Put your money on it.
I got 1,000 on sending sa.neter right now. You won't take a DNA.
I never said in my life.
I got 1,000 right now. I'll send the sa.neter right now. You won't take no DNA test.
What happened?
I got $1,000. I'll send the sa.neter right now. You won't take a DNA.
sa.neter, you see how they switch up the conversation, sa.neter?
I got $1,000.
Now you need to put that damn on back on his old stuck ass because he's a liar. I ain't never say that, bro, in my life. And sa.neter, you've been knowing me for damn near over 6-7 years, bro.
All right, let's move on. The brother denied it, so we got to move on. The brother denied your claims, brother Daniel. We got to move on.
It's all good, sir. I'm gonna let some space for somebody else.
All right, peace, brother.
I put money on it, sa.neter. I'll send you 100 right now if he can pull up the video.
Yeah.
That's it.
Hey,
that's
Copper Dragon. What's up, Copper?
That's it.
Copper, what it is, man?
Hey, what's going on? Peace, power, love, and abundance to the panel, man. Hey, I see you, Willie. You done lost weight, man. You looking good, my dude. Get your shit together. I appreciate it. No profanity. My bad. Hey, but I want to ask a quick question to the panel though. How many going back to the slave trade? how many ships is equivalent to 12 million people? And do you really believe that everybody that was chained up was able to raise their hand and say, let me use the bathroom, knowing that all that piss, boo-boo, throw up, and all that would turn into a gas chamber? And then we're talking about 12, maybe 30 white boys at the top of the ship with 400 blacks at the bottom. No disrespect saying blacks, but these are people that are used to chasing their food down. Are you telling me that we're that weak that we couldn't take control of that situation?
Well, when you look at us today, we're that weak. What are you talking about? It could be 20 goddamn gangsters on the corner, and one white man call himself a police can make all you niggas bow the hell down. So what are you? I've seen it. Hold on, be quiet. Let me finish, because I don't want to scream. So yeah, I'm gonna tell you we that goddamn weak because I've seen it multiple times. Not one time. It could be 5 white cops on the corner. All these Negroes got guns, and they start taking the guns out, throwing it in the basement, throwing it under the car, and throwing their hands up. So brother, yes, we are that weak of people. Yeah.
Hey, look, low key. At the moment, I don't have no pushback on that. I'm gonna let you get that one. I've seen that myself. You know what I'm saying? So,
okay, there you go, brother. There you go. See, you answered your own question. All right, let me rise back up to the top now. Free for all. If y'all want to cut in, you're gonna have to at least put your finger up. Let me see your finger.
I speak, Star? I never got a chance to speak, and I know I just stepped in.
So can I say something now?
Hold on. I didn't get Asar. He's right. Asar, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I want to say peace to everybody on the panel. Peace to you, sa.neter. Peace to you, Queen Nepal. Peace to Keon. And I can't see everybody else's name, but peace to everybody here and in the chat. And I want to address some of the straight fallacies I heard in this conversation. I didn't get to see brother what is it, OTK?
Yes,
brother OTK. I didn't get to see your presentation, but I did get to hear some of what you said in these discussions and what some people said. The one thing I really want to address is what Sister Freedom said about the term African wasn't used until recently, right? It wasn't a popular word amongst us or other people. And that's totally a fallacy. People forget that this conversation was discussed numerous times. And sa.neter has had scholars who've written back and forth. And one of our illustrious scholars, Jabari Osaze, named plenty of books of Africans who refer to themselves as Africans. Here's a couple of them. Aladuwe Aquano. Excuse the mentioning of the names. I'm not really good at them. He's also known as Gustavus Vasa, right? The interesting narratives of the life of Olado Equado or Gustavus Vasa, the African. 1789. 1789 is when they use that term. 1789, right? He explicitly identifies himself as an African in the title and throughout the book. The narrative describes his life in what is now Nigeria, his kidnapping and his enslavement, and his later life as a free man and abolitionist in England. We got Otoba Kukuwana.
Stop.
We have many artists. Wait a minute, hold on. Let me finish. Can I finish?
Let him finish, y'all. Let him finish.
Can I finish?
Let the brother finish.
Since you don't want me to continue with the numerous of books of sources I have of books of people calling themselves Africans in the 1800s, in the 1700s. There's also some in the BCE era, right? So Pliny the Elder used the word African, right? Christian antiquity, right? There are different people that call the scholars that use the word African.
All right.
So I don't want to go through the list, but I just want to prove that African was used by other people to refer to us, and people from Africa refer to themselves as African.
All right, let me ask you this. Are all of those
Crazy.
people that you name, are all of those people theory writers? And what people in Africa call themselves African? Let's go.
I just named you the first brother who wrote a book about his experience. Can I answer the question?
OTK,
You asked me a question.
You gotta let him answer, brother.
Brother, the first book I named was an African who referred to himself as an African, talked about talked about his kidnapping and his enslavement into Africa, into America, him getting his freedom and him being an abolitionist in England.
What's his
The brother,
name?
his own account. That's an African speaking on his own account, referring to himself as an African in the title and in the book.
What year was this?
Okay, but what?
This year was let me give you the year. The year was
Yeah, because you talking a bunch of
that book was real.
the year was 1745 to 1797. Oluwada Equano. Oluwada Equano is his name. So now I gave you a name and a date.
Is he talking about Equiano?
Sorry, let me jump in real quick.
Is he talking about Equiano?
But no, he
Yeah,
said
yeah, yeah.
freedom. He said freedom. So let me defend myself.
All right, calm down. Everybody calm down. Let me move on. King J, let's go.
Now, wait a minute, Si, you gonna pass me and he referred to me, and that was supposed to be him.
No, you after King J. He was before you.
Hey,
No,
Scott,
King
for
J
real,
was before you.
don't be letting them boys do that.
But he referred to me, Si. At least
Getting
admit
spicy.
answer the man. Because he's wrong. I didn't say that. I don't like manipulation. I'm talking strictly about us here in America when we were called African. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. I don't know what you talking about. That somebody called themselves African. That's African. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about an African slave in America who referred to himself as an African, sister. That's what I'm talking about.
African.
Someone
You said an African.
who is a descendant of more than likely has descendants in America because he was enslaved in here.
Well, wait a minute, wait a minute, maybe you misunderstood what I was saying, because what you sound, if a person wasn't really paying attention, you might have made some sense. But you
Didn't you say that we didn't refer to ourselves as African? When did we start referring to ourselves as Africans here?
We did not
Did you say that?
As African in no 17 nobody's hundreds. Okay.
I just showed you a book of an African who was slaved here, who called himself an African, Sister Freedom.
No, you
That's
said
facts.
us in America. You talking about the copper color people of America. Now
We have to talk about the sisters' freedom. You have to talk about the people that were enslaved, and you can talk about their descendants. They're all together.
No,
they're all together. That history is all grouped together.
Shut up. Do not.
All right, hold on. Asar, I'm gonna let you go right after her because she's
I don't
addressing you.
want him to mix up what I said. He said an African went over, and then it probably just started. That the word African just started going through that continent, okay? But and I don't know when that book was written, really, but okay, you're saying that African went over into England. I'm talking about the copper colored people that was on this land. We were not calling ourselves African. Not nobody that came from Africa came over here calling themselves African. Don't mix up what I said. Like I said, if somebody's slow, they might have caught that and didn't catch it. But I'm going to make sure you understood what I said. We, copper colored people on this land, American indigenous people, and keep in mind the slave trade didn't happen until the 1600s. Christopher Columbus came over here and mistook the people in the 1400s. So for the slow people that keep saying that we didn't get over here until the slave trade, well, Christopher Columbus that mixed us up with copper colored people from somewhere else was here in the 1400s. So that's before the slave trade. So which means we were already here. And not only that, it gets to me when people say, well, where did we come from? Where did the African people come from? How did they get in Africa? They come from their mama and their papa. They say stupid stuff like, well, we just pop out of ground. Where they come from? Did they
All right, Sister Freedom. All right,
No,
let's hear it.
I just don't like it, side when people do
All
that.
right.
Person out
Let's hear it from Asar without nobody interrupting the brother. Go ahead, Asar.
I do want to give some clarity. I want to make sure that I'm hearing her right, so everybody can hear her right. Are you saying that there's no Africans that came here and called themselves African? Is that what you're saying, sis?
I did not say that at all. How can you
Okay,
come?
you're saying people. Okay.
I said
Thank
the
you.
copper colored people that was on this land did not call themselves African. I'm talking about the indigenous.
Okay.
And keep in mind, Indian is a nickname, a misnomer to the word indigenous, and that was a name that was put on us, not a name
Thank you.
it's a name that I just don't want that to be misunderstood. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you for the clarity.
You actually came on here and said ballots, which was a liar, and I'm not a coward. I could say exactly what I said. You were wrong. I'm not.
Well, I stand corrected in that regards, but I don't stand corrected in the regards that African people came over here from Africa and referred to themselves as Africans,
I never
right?
said
And that turn, I'm okay. I stand corrected, sister. Since you clarified that, I can stand corrected. I have no problem with that. But I'm going to reiterate again: African people came here who were enslaved and referred to themselves as African. The word Africa or African was used in antiquity in the BCE era. So for those people who want to try to act like the word Africa is some brand new word that was used, it is a total fallacy and it's a lie. And the African people that were brought here, some of them refer to themselves as that. And I'll close right there.
But you
Stop.
He's
real
still
quick.
wrong.
You're doing a bunch of
Prove me wrong.
Hold on, I'm about to ask you a question real quick, and I don't need you to give me no long sermon, bro. I done waited patiently on my show for you to go through your sermon. All right. Now, these Africans that you saying that was coming across here writing books, all right, in 1745, was they slaves? Because if they were slaves, now this goes against sa.neter narrative, where he just told us that they got stripped of everything. They didn't know how to read, write, or none of that. So how can somebody come over here during the transatlantic slave trade and be able to write a book? Let's go.
Are you? I'm allowed to answer. You ready for my response? Okay. Well, how that's possible is there were some black slaves who did know how to read, who snuck and was taught how to read. Some of their masters actually allowed some slaves to learn how to read, right? And write, right? And don't act like the African came over here dumb. The African had language, had mathematics. They knew how to articulate their experiences. So once they learned the language and was allowed to read and write, they produced the books. They produced their accounts. And
That's crazy.
So now
no,
this
that's
will
fact.
go against
That's actual history, brother. That's actual history. Are you saying no African? Wait. Let me ask you a question, OTK. Are you saying no African slave knew how to read or write?
Bro, I'm not saying nothing.
Okay, because you're trying to use something that sa.neter. You trying to use something that sa.neter said out of context because he didn't say all African slaves. He was just talking about majority of us. Some of us slipped through the cracks. Some of us had some type of other treatment than all of us, majority of us. That's why we have these accounts, brother.
Hold up. What did he write in? Did he write in English?
Of course. He learned English.
He wrote in English? Oh.
You guys are laughing, but there's a book here that an African wrote about his account. You know what's crazy is that there's a source right here of proof that an African referred to himself as an African, and you guys are still denying it. It's ridiculous.
When it comes down to religion,
it's ridiculous.
You are ridiculous. Bye.
When it comes down to religion, Uncle Sa, but boy, when it comes down to this American history and this American Indian history, nah, we undefeated. Ain't no African came across here writing in no English saying he was African. Man, come on, stop.
All right, let me get King J. King J, it's on you, brother.
Y'all just the last.
I appreciate that. So it was a couple questions asked, like misinformation. I do want to say this. So 1469, we do see the first slavery in the West Indies, right? These are going to be Spanish colonies. Keep in mind, these Spanish colonies would be included as Florida, Texas, all those areas are Spanish colonies during this time. There is no America. There is no United Colonies. The French colonies haven't came over yet. It's the Spanish, right? So when the sister asks about why Columbus didn't call them Americans, Africans, because the first colonies were his Spanish colonies in the West Indies. He thought that's where he was at. He ended up in Florida. These are still Spanish colonies at this time, right?
Columbus never came to Florida.
So,
He
brother,
never
don't
touched no
interrupt me,
rocks in
brother.
North
Please let me.
Let him speak. OTK, let him get it out. Let him get it out, OTK. Go ahead, King J.
Thank you, brother. So these Spanish colonies that we have, keep in mind, they're bringing slaves back from Africa, West Africa. They're moving slaves from the West Indies amongst the Spanish colonies, amongst their own colonies, right? So that's for one. Then we're going to see the French come over. The French is going to come down through Canada, down through Mississippi, and these French are going to bring their own group of slaves from West Africa, right? Then we finally get to the British, right? The British come and they're going to bring their slaves from West Africa, right? So keep in mind, all this is happening. We still have the indigenous slavery, right? The indigenous, I'm using the word indigenous for Indians. The Indigenous Slavery Act doesn't stop. The indigenous slavery doesn't stop until 1769, right? When we look at certain censuses, we'll find out we have 2,000 West African slaves compared to the 229 Indian slaves that we have, right? So the reason why we find this is this. They said that initially. Let me cook. Hold on, brother. You can correct me when I'm done. Let me
on his phone.
Let me make.
All right, hold on. Let him finish. Come on, wind it up, King J. Come on.
Is he asking a question or is he trying to teach?
Let me land my plane, brother, without interrupting. I appreciate it.
Long.
Here we go.
Senator can come in now.
Hold on, Paul. You can
Sorry about that.
So what I'm saying is this: the reason why they said that they switched over from Indian slaves to African slaves is because, for one, they said that the Indians knew the terrain too well. They escaped. They were familiar with the area. They didn't want, you know what I'm saying? For two, they said that they were immune. They were getting too many diseases. They were catching the European diseases and they were dying. For three, the African slaves worked better and they worked harder and they were more efficient. So they switched. So the French acts, like, look, we're not going to use these indigenous Indian slaves anymore. We're going to switch over to the African slaves. So we see that the Indian slaves dwindled, the African slaves peaked, and that's what we find: African slaves. So we see both. So what I'm saying is this: there was no question of Indians and Africans. They were distinguished. They knew who were the African slaves. They knew who were the Indian slaves. So they both existed at the same time.
All right.
Well, I mean, so I want them to stop saying what I said because I know what I'm talking about. He just all that.
All right. Hold on.
We've already gave clarity to that.
Hold on, everybody. It's on you, Nepal.
Damn, that's crazy. That's why I say that was.
Okay, great. I'm glad because I wanted to get this information with Eltis and just show his side of his perspective and his research on the slave trade, which isn't being presented, unfortunately, by actual Black people who say that they're not descendants or may not be descendants. And this isn't on OTK, but it is a problem with our community. So somebody came in and said, we don't know what Eltis is saying. And I definitely have read this paper. So I want to just bring some information to light what this particular man is saying about the slave trade and how it relates to Africans compared to
Can you share your screen?
Yes, sir. Okay, can you see this paper, everybody?
Yeah.
We source up over here at the HOK. Y'all already know that. A brief overview of the transatlantic slave trade, David Eltis. The transatlantic slave trade was the largest long-distance coerced movement of the people in history and prior to the mid-19th century, formed the major demographic wellspring for the repeopling of the Americas following the collapse of the Amerindian population. Yeah, that's a big deal. And so far, just this first intro is going completely against what is being purported by our brothers and sisters about the slave trade and compared to Native Americans. Cumulatively, as late as the 1820s, or as 1820, nearly 4 Africans had crossed the Atlantic for every European. And given the differences in the sex ratio between European and African migrant streams, about 4 out of every 5 females that traversed the Atlantic were from Africa. Africa. We're talking about Africans with the slave trade, not Native Americans. From the late 15th century, the Atlantic Ocean, once a formidable barrier that prevented regular interaction between those peoples, talking about Africans and Europeans, inhabiting the 4 continents, is touched. It became a commercial highway that integrated the histories of Africa, Europe, and the Americas. As the above figures suggest, slavery and the slave trade were the linchpins of this process. With the decline of the American Indian, the Amerindian population, let me say that again. With the decline of the Amerindian population, labor from Africa formed the basis of the exploitation of the gold and agricultural resources of the export sectors of Americas. Which, okay, so far we see that we all know it's an African slave trade. It's not Native American slave trade. What can explain this extraordinary migration? This is Eltis saying this. You got to give me some time to cook with this information because these are sources. What can explain this extraordinary migration? He's talking about Africans only, organized initially on a continent where the institution of slavery had actually declined or totally disappeared in the centuries prior to Columbian contact. And where, even when it had existed, slavery had never been confined to one group of people. What people are they talking about, family? Africans. To pose the question differently, why slavery? And why were the slaves carried across the Atlantic exclusively, not Native Americans, exclusively from Africa? The short answer to the first of these 2 questions is that European expansion to the Americas was to mainly tropical and semi-tropical areas, several products that were either unknown to European, so they go into talking about the industry and how they need it. Let me get down here to the middle passage. I'll put this link to this paper for the HOK audience that really want to know the truth, and you will not be using Eltis to push this lie that the African slave trade is anything in comparison to the slaves that were taken from the Americas who are Native American to Spain. Let me show you what's going on.
Nobody never said that. Nobody never said that.
It's not just about you, my friend. I'm just talking about people using Eltis coming in here saying we don't know what he said. I do. And now
he's saying that all of this is guesswork, and some of the sources that I brought up is where he got his guesswork from.
I absolutely love you being over here. I like these conversations. You held your own, but I do need to present this work from Eltis, who is continuously being misquoted by Aboriginals and people who are trying to discount the travesty of the African slave trade. I'm almost done. Let's talk about the middle passage here. Whatever the route taken, conditions on board reflected the outsider status of those held below deck. No European, whether convict, indentured servant, or destitute free migrant was ever, let me say that again, no European, whether convict, indentured servant, or destitute free migrant, was ever subjected to the environment which greeted the typical African slaves upon embarkation. The sexes were separated, kept naked, packed close together, and the men were chained for long periods. No less than 26% of those on board were classed as children, a ratio that no other pre-20th century migration could come close to matching. Thank you, Eltis. Except for the illegal period of the trade when conditions at times became even worse. Slave traders typically packed 2 slaves per ton, while a few voyages sailing from Upper Guinea could make a passage to the Americas in 3 weeks. The average duration from all regions of Africa was just over 2 months. Most of the Caribbean and the West Africa first had to sail south before turning northwest and passing through the doldrums. Let's get down here. In the 19th century, I know that this sounds tedious, but this is going to just show you that they're completely being,
don't skip over the parts about how many people died.
No, I'm going to get it all. I got all this. In the 19th century, improvements in sailing technology eventually cut the time in half, but mortality remained high in this period because of the illegal natures of the business. Throughout the slave trade, these are Africans, sir. Throughout the slave trade era, these are Africans. Wait, I know I don't want you to talk over this too much, and then you can have the mic back. Throughout the slave trade era, filthy pathogens that, together with periodic breakouts of violent resistance, meant that between 12 and 13% of those embarked did not survive the voyage. Modal mortality fell well below mean mortality, and catastrophes on relatively few voyages drove up average shipboard deaths. Crew mortality as a percentage of those going on board matched slave mortality over the course of the voyage, but as slaves were there for a shorter period of time than the crew, mortality rates for slaves over time were the more severe. The 18th century world was violent and life expectancy was short everywhere, given that the global mortality revolution was still over the horizon. But the human misery quotient generated by the forced movement of millions of Africans, millions of people in slave ships cannot have been matched by any other human activity. Even in this paper, I won't keep reading because I know y'all want to get back to sparring, but this paper talks about how they couldn't enslave the Native Americans because they were too sick. They were infected, they were downtrodden and infected by the Europeans. So this is what Eltis says. So when you come in here talking about, no, we don't know what Eltis says, and Eltis does corroborate, somehow trying to allude to the fact that Eltis goes along with this madness that Native Americans and the Native American slave trade was real and this and that. No, it was Africans. We got the facts. We got the research. Stop playing in our faces. Thank you.
Sharice.
Busted head to the white meat with your own source.
All right, hold on. Everybody, hold on. OTK, I said it can respond. OTK can respond.
OTK, let Sharice take that, please.
Everybody, relax. Let OTK talk.
Good, man. Everything good. They got us. I respect you to the fullest. I would love to have a bill with you so we can compare sources. Trust me, I will source up.
And it's all love to you, brother.
Yes, guys. I will source up. And we can definitely have this conversation. But all of those are estimates. Like the stuff that I was showing is where he get his estimates from. A lot of them. Is what I was showing earlier. I was showing that.
I think you're missing the point that she's making though. It's two different points
Nah,
on what
but
you're saying right now.
I don't need you to co-sign for her. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that alone, sis, and I respect you. But go ahead.
Of course you're gonna leave it alone because it busted your head to the white meat.
Absolutely not. She just interviewed him.
Yes, absolutely it did. Busted your head to the white meat.
All right, yo, come on. Nobody has been busted to nothing, man. Come on, man. Let's keep the order. Let's keep it right. Let's keep it right, y'all. Let's keep it right.
I mean, like, goddamn.
Let me go to
mortality rate was
the realist. The realist is in the building. Let's hear what the realist got to say.
Peace and love. Thank you for allowing me to come up, sa.neter. Peace and love to all the American Indians, the Aboriginals. Shout out to everybody on HOK side. Yeah, so there's a couple of things. I would like to be able to share my screen if applicable. I do also have an article from David Eltis when he talks about in 2008 the actual centennial of the transatlantic slave trade and the things that they discovered once this 100-year anniversary came about. And I do also have a small clip from me asking him specifically about what happened in 1870 when we had 4 million so-called African Americans in the country, but only 1/10 of 1% of them are African born. So is it okay if I share that?
Yes.
And this my sister right here, Sister Sharice. Me and her roll together.
Mine too.
And Nepal and y'all already know this who I roll with. She actually interviewed David Eltis not too long ago.
Well.
So boom. So this article right here is called The U.S. Transatlantic Slave Trade, 1644 to 1867, an assessment. And he pretty much, I just want to go through a couple of things that I did find interesting and what made me want to interview him in the first place. So he wrote, last year was the bicentenary, bicentenary of the abolition of the African slave trade by the United States. In 2008 is the bicentenary of that law going into effect. But there are perhaps better reasons to reconsider the patterns of the U.S. side of the African slave trade. More African migrants have arrived in the United States since 1992 than during the whole slave trade era. Moreover, the moment at which the second African diaspora overtakes the first in terms of size and diversity coincides with the technological revolution. Digitization and the World Wide Web have combined with an established computer revolution to provide historians easy access to documents and, more important, the power to digest and manipulate the information they contain that is way beyond what their predecessors could have ever imagined. So he's pretty much saying here that, boom, more Africans, migrants, have arrived in the United States since 92 than the whole slave trade era. He came on my channel and made it clear that only 300,000 came into this country through the U.S. side of the slave trade. Not the whole thing, but we're talking about this mainland more in particular, right? So boom, let me go down just a little bit because this is a long ass article. I mean, excuse my language. This is a long article.
Thank you, sis.
You're welcome.
He seems like he said some good things about the slave voyage, though.
Yeah.
Okay,
He's the co-author of the slave voyage.
He's the co-founder. So hold up. I just want to pull up something else real quick.
And once she's done, I'd like to ask somebody to address the actual paper and the breeding farms of the slaves too. So let's talk about that as well.
Yeah, and if he's the co-founder of slave voyage, that
real quick, King J, did he dispute that the African slave trade happened, and did he say anything that blacks are Native Americans?
No, what we're disputing, Miss Nepal, ultimately is the amount of people that came to the Americas.
Right. But we knew the number was small. We knew the number was small, though. No one here debated against that.
But then y'all got a problem with it for no reason because I never said that it didn't happen.
No, but is he saying that
if there's only 300,000, these millions that y'all want to keep capping for is not real.
We're not talking about millions, sis. I'm asking you.
Let her finish first, y'all. Let her finish.
Okay, no, let her
Come on,
finish.
go ahead, finish off.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, let me just go down real quick because I want to talk about the 9th census of the United States of America. And I do have a small clip already queued up. Why is it not loading? I do have a small clip already queued up when he talks about this. Okay, hold up, y'all. All right, where is it? I thought I just had it together. Give me 1 second. Okay. Oh, there we go. No, Cuban have sold all their slaves born to the United States after 1808. Nope, that's not the one. Hold up.
And Uncle Sam,
Because he also touches on the intra-American slave trade too. So we're talking about so many different slave trades that was taking place, not just this one idea of the transatlantic slave trade occurring, but many things going on in the Americas at a particular time. So hold up. Where did it go? I just had the
So let's be clear. Let's be clear, sister, too. When they say Americas, they're talking about North and South America.
Okay, but what I'm talking about right now is North America in particular. So let's just keep it. Let's keep it together. And also, we can speak and say Americas. And when we talk about Jamaica and the sugarcane plantations there, and in Puerto Rico, places like that, yes, these things did happen. So
another show.
Okay, hold up. I think that this is it. The United States, we likely know
Told you on the side, this was
the United States from the rest of Americas after 1808.
But we're not disputing the numbers. So my
No,
first,
but let's let her go, and then I'm going to pull the paper back up of El
Yeah, everybody keep interrupting.
Exclusively Africans. So
where is it? All right. Well, I can just go ahead and pull up his interview because that way I can just if that's okay with y'all real quick.
I don't know, sa.neter, you're okay with that, right?
So are you saying
it's not long? It's just one particular question that I asked him. I don't know why. Maybe it's my little nerves right now that I can't get to the direct.
I don't know. Are you still on the panel, sa.neter?
All right, so here we go.
I'm here. Go ahead, play it.
Yeah.
Briefly, now I have a few questions, and first, one of my questions. Oh, first of all, before I actually get started, guys, Dr. Eltis has a book, The Transatlantic Slave Trade, and here we go. U.S. Transatlantic Slave Trade, 1640. I grabbed mine from Amazon and learning about who I am identity-wise. There has been a lot of what I will call pushback on what we know as the transatlantic slave trade, and I just want to ask you just some brief questions from that particular, just maybe one or two questions from that particular article. In that article, I noticed that you referenced the 9th census of the United States, which indicates that less than 0.1% of the quote Black population was African born. So how does this statistic inform our understanding of the demographics of enslaved people in the United States?
Yes, the slave trade to the U.S. was much smaller than people realize, I think. And in fact, staggeringly small when you consider that at the point of the Civil War, there were close to 4 million African Americans living in the country. And the question, of course, arises, how come that number was so great if the actual number of arrivals was probably less than 400,000?
Okay. So that's all we're trying to basically help y'all understand, is that no one's saying that the idea around it didn't occur. I mean, but the numbers, the millions, is capped. It is.
Right.
But
So y'all don't need to bring up.
He just said it.
After she's
so we don't need to bring up nothing that none of that no more.
No, I have to bring up something because we've been confused.
All right, everybody quiet. Everybody quiet. Nepal, go ahead.
Thank you, King. I appreciate it. So now, before I bring up the paper again, what we're going to look at what he actually says, and we're going to stay focused. We've never said, we know that in the Americas, this is the least amount of slaves arrived here. It's not like an aha moment. Y'all are catching.
I spoke on it 2 days ago.
Man, please, what's going on?
Thank you, sa.neter. Thank you, Seven. And yes, so we already know this. We also know that they're breeding farms. That's how, if he's talking about how could there be so many? We were bred incessantly bred. I don't get this. So just so we don't mislead people to again make people think this man is at all saying that African American people, Black people, have anything to do with indigenous people, and you're using him as a source, and it's erroneous because he says people who are Black are the descendants of African slaves. Let me get this clip from him talking about how every single port, you just listen to him in this interview with Emery. He's going to talk about how slavery, the ships were going all over the United States. You want to talk about numbers? We're talking about the fact that it was exclusively African. That's it. It was exclusively African.
Now, the point where she gets confused at is this, real quick. When they say we're African born, she thinks that doesn't mean that the slaves can't be born, bred here, like you just said. They're not.
That's not what I'm saying. And I feel like you guys were very interrupting me and not trying to let me really speak.
Can we all? Nobody could hear anybody what you're saying. So let me say this. What he's saying is correct. Excuse me. What he's saying is correct, because you can't come in and say, "Oh, it's just a little amount." We were bred, and they were Africans from Africa who were bred. So that means that it's African descendancy. So let me just play. Let me play what he says.
Hey, Uncle Side, on some real, Uncle Side, on some real.
That's exactly
this right here. This right here. Hey, listen, man, be quiet real quick, please. Be quiet. This is my show. Do a show or something. Do something so I can remember you about. Till then. Stay in your place.
Remember you, brother. We don't remember you, brother.
Anyway, apparently, my brother brought me
what
up
they'll
here.
see is the
14
extent
years ago.
of the involvement of the whole Atlantic world in the slave trade.
We had this man on our show less than 3 months ago.
Of any size.
Are you hearing what he's saying? I mean, I don't know why you don't want us to play this, because she came in and she misled people on Facebook.
No, I did.
Everybody.
That's not the truth.
All right, hold on. Everybody stop. Why are y'all talking if it's only one person supposed to be talking?
Thank you.
I mean, I step away, come back, I hear King J and OTK going at it. Y'all, what's happening?
Yeah.
We cool.
Okay,
my
so
bad. I'm out, man, because
why are you out, OTK? We just want to play this clip, and then we can let
hold on, Paul. OTK, you can't be out, brother. Come on, man. That's like running. You can't be doing that, brother. That's called running over here. When you do that,
everybody was able to do all the talking except me, and this my show.
Nah, you can talk. I'll tell you what. You're right.
All right, when you go back and you rewind the film and you watch how long I was quiet listening.
You can talk right after Nepal. I'll let you do your whole presentation, and then I open up for the questions. But when I open up for questions and people start coming at you, I'm seeing that you cut people off. You don't want them to ask you the question or whatever. Come on, brother. You good. This is your show. You're gonna ask the questions. I mean, you're gonna be able to present.
Yeah, I noticed you let a bunch of people going against me talk though too, boy, without getting cut off. And I shut up. I muted my mic and let them talk too. But every time I talk, I get cut off.
No, brother. You had people going with you, man. Come on, man. Don't do that. I let the Indians speak. Come on, man. Don't do that, brother.
I definitely did.
All right, go ahead, Nepal. Nepal, you there?
Nepal, what year was this? Because he looked different.
Yeah, I was talking with the mute. Sorry, I muted out when you were talking. Okay, so this is the gentleman that we're discussing with his information. We want to keep in mind that all of us are on the same page with that the numbers are not. They didn't make it. They didn't make it they didn't make it over here. It was 12 million taken, but it was horrible conditions. So yeah, we get that. Well, we want to see when he talks about his atlas that he's created, watch how prevalent the slave trade is over the Americas. Okay. I want you to see all these ports where these slaves were delivered and then bred like animals. So look at what he shows on this map, and you tell me that we're not the descendants of these slaves. Let's take a look.
Nepal, what year was this that he did this?
I don't know the year, but this is him. This is Eltis. This is David Eltis. This is him talking about transatlantic slave trade. And this is the atlas of, he's going to show us the atlas of, listen what he says. He says there wasn't one port, one place in the United States from the Atlantic that they weren't delivering Africans to. Listen, please.
What they'll see is the extent of the involvement of the whole Atlantic world in the slave trade.
Can you hear him okay? You can hear him, right?
Yes, we can hear him.
He says the extent of the involvement of the whole world in the transatlantic slave trade.
There isn't a single port of any size anywhere in the Atlantic that wasn't connected to the slave trade in some way.
Not even one port was not connected to Africans being delivered onto the shores of this country, of this continent.
What we're showing here is that particular ports in Africa had strong connections with particular ports and therefore areas in the Americas. And it's very easy to see those connections the way the data is presented in the form of maps. To take the first section, you look at where the slave ships are originating, but the atlas maps are set up in such a way that you can see where they go in Africa and then where they go in the Americas after they.
He's showing us, I have to stop it because, for fair use, he's showing us that the slaves were delivered onto this continent in the Americas. These slaves that you're bringing this information saying, oh, it's such a small number. They were delivered here, and we are the descendants of these slaves, according to Eltis. Let's keep listening.
Leave the port. And in the second section, which focuses on Africa, then you can see exactly where the major centers of the slave trading business are. But you can also see at the same time where the ships are coming from.
The South, the North, the Middle Colonies, everywhere. Black people, Africans.
In Europe, and where they're going in the Americas afterwards. And then the same thing's true when we go into the third section, which focuses on the Americas. The unfortunate fact is that people removed from Africa via the slave trade were essentially renamed.
So he's making a point that we don't even know who we are anymore.
When they reached the Americas, and sometimes before they left Africa. They were renamed partly because in the case of the Iberians, that is to say the Portuguese and the Spanish, there was a strong emphasis on baptism. It was nominal baptism in many cases, but it effectively for the owners and therefore for the record.
Stop for a minute, Nepal.
Yes, sir.
Remember when I said, because we've been stripped of our names, stripped of our language, stripped of all of that?
Yes,
and
sir.
they say that I cut myself. Now he's saying the same thing.
Yes, sir.
He said they don't know who they are anymore. That's the same thing. They've been stripped of a third knowledge of self. And they said that I cut myself. I was wrong. And now, don't forget, y'all the one that brought him up. We didn't bring him up. Y'all brought him up and started trying to use resources.
And the people that was already here too. They went through that and still going through it.
Okay, all right. So now,
years ago.
So you don't want to hear anymore? Okay, so we got him out the way, right?
I would love to hear some
pictures
more.
up of what they look like. Put
So-
some pictures up, Nepal.
Yeah, that was like an older
Can I just
video.
finish up? Can I park my car and then listen? This is the point. I'm glad you interviewed him, but I'm not glad that you're misusing his information and misusing his research. This man clearly. This man.
No, let her
I don't know
finish.
why you're
Let
talking.
her finish, y'all. Let her finish.
No, why are you unmuting talking over me, sis? You will have the mic soon. You're misusing his information. You're using him to try to skew and shoehorn an idea that hardly any people here that are Black are Africans, and that the Middle Passage, again, you're trying to diminish the impact of the Middle Passage on our people. So he's not on your side. In fact, there was a gentleman that you guys always spar back and forth with. He actually reached out to him and asked him clearly. He said, there are people who are saying that you agree with them, and that you and alluding to the fact that you are they're using your information to say that we're Native Americans. Are we the descendants of Africans? The man clearly responded, yes, Black people are the descendants of Africans. He said, you're absolutely right. And so stop misusing his work. Go find somebody else, because this ain't it. And now,
okay, so can I respond to her now? Okay, so since you don't really know me like that, so let's just start there.
First off, I don't have to know you.
When I interviewed David Eltis, I asked him questions based off the things that he wrote, not based off what I think or what I want to believe. So let's just start there. Secondly, when we're talking about this low number of slaves that y'all want to equate to millions, you talking about breeding farms. Show me the breeding farms. You talking about all this stuff, sweetheart, and none of that makes sense. You don't think people were having consensual sex? You believe that everybody was just getting raped and fucked around and and messed around and put somewhere? That's what you think? Wow. So, and thirdly, he clearly stated in an article that in 1992, there were more African migrants that came to America than the entire slave trade era combined. Okay? So it's like, for you to even make it seem like I'm trying to misuse his information, that's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to get him to clarify exactly what it is that he is saying. He made it very clear that it was staggeringly small. So how do we get you and by your beliefs or your belief system? I mean, from my understanding, from how I'm viewing what you're saying, oh, we could play the whole clip too as well for whoever that is in the chat. But the point is that what you're saying is that the only reason why we got the 4 million is because we were put on breeding farms. And I just think that's outrageous. And if we're talking about this thing to be true, they have not presented any proof. More so estimates and guesstimates to what people want to believe, because we've been told this since what? We were in grade school, all the way up to college education. We've all been taught that we were some type of Africans with no viable proof. So that's just what it is. Like, I just think it's wrong for you to say that I'm trying to misuse his information when he said it out his own mouth. He said,
no, you did misuse his information.
Excuse me.
How she misusing something or missaying something that he said out his own mouth? Jay, be quiet.
Yeah, like, stop. I didn't say that. He said it.
Yeah, man. And he's steady reading his fucking phone like he's Google searching. That's why my bad.
Yo, y'all gotta stop with the profanity.
Yeah, I apologize.
They already got my. Yo, y'all gotta stop with the profanity. That's why they already got me blocked, and they don't let all my subscribers out because of the profanity. So let the sister finish, and we're gonna go to OTK and King J. Come on, brother, stop jumping in, man. Let them speak, brother. All right, go ahead, sis.
Yeah. Right, so OTK. Okay, go ahead, OTK, because I was just trying to finish up.
Okay,
I just want to be clear that in no way, like, I asked him questions, and you could go and watch it for yourself. The whole thing is only an hour long. If you can take the time out of your day and watch it, and actually have an unbiased opinion, because I asked him unbiased questions. I'm a person of integrity. I didn't once ask him about whether or not we were Indians. The only thing I ever questioned him on was there Black people here before that fact? And that's it. Everything else, you know what I'm saying? I don't like you putting that narrative out there, sweetie, because that's not what it was.
Well, sweetie, you can always get a debate with me because I just showed information. It's nothing personal. So
that's fine, but
I don't even know you.
Say that that's what I'm doing, because that's not
the narrative. Let me be clear. This isn't about you as a person. I don't even know you. This is the point about the information, and it is being used. It's being misused. When you're presenting something in a scholarly way, you can't grab the information from someone who's completely opposed to your narrative and to your premise, completely opposed to it, and then try to say, Oh, let me use his information because we are the Native Americans. He actually talks about the uniqueness and the exclusivity of Africans being slaves, but the narrative as a whole, not just you, as a whole is being pushed that the Native Americans were also slaves. We're probably not even Africans. The Middle Passage didn't really happen. How could all those people be piled on top of each other? That's the narrative that's being pushed. It's a whole machine. It's not you particularly. I'm going to say it again. His information is being misused. He is a scholar who's put in a lot of work on showing the facts about the transatlantic slave trade of African people, our ancestors, that he says are our ancestors. And people who are ironically Black are using it to try to say it didn't happen and try to push a narrative that we are Native Americans. So the point is, if you didn't personally or individually say it, you're on the train with the abos who continue to try to allude to the fact or just blatantly in our face tell us the slave trade didn't really happen. It couldn't have possibly happened. I mean, I heard you, Freedom. I heard you say,
don't do it. Don't do it. I said
Freedom, calm down. Freedom, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Freedom, don't interrupt me while I'm talking, sis.
Go ahead.
I don't interrupt you. I heard you many times saying, how could that have happened? It's too hard when you sit on something wooden. It's hard. So it's an entire group of people pushing a narrative that the slave trade, if it did happen, it wasn't as we know how it happened, where he is not saying that. He's saying it happened. He said it was exclusively African. And he's saying that African people were transported from Africa and they were delivered all over the United States. And then we know, if you know your history, we know that there were breeding farms. We know that the slave trade was abolished. We know all this information. We know that the least amount of slaves, if you compare them around the world with that history, we know the least amount of slaves were traded to the United States. So this isn't new information. You're taking the information and what you're doing is a disservice to descendants of African slaves because you're trying to push this information from Eltis that he is like somehow saying, oh, everybody here was an African that's Black. No, he doesn't say that. In fact, I'll double down even more. You can always get a debate with me if you want, anybody on this panel. I'll double down even more. He says Africans weren't even here, meaning he's talking about Black people. He's talking about the phenotype. He said Africans weren't even here on this continent before 1492. You're not ready. Now I'll mute out.
All right, so look, can we go around?
You just bodied yourself. Hold up, y'all. Hold up, man. Hold up. I keep getting muted and stuff. Man, you just bodied yourself.
Brother, you're not muted. You're not muted, OTK. Now you can speak, brother. Stop saying. Go ahead, brother.
You absolutely correct. You just bodied yourself, Nepal. It wasn't no Africans over here. We are not Africans.
He's talking about Black people.
He lost his mind.
Black people. Black.
No, that doesn't necessarily mean
Everybody, stop. God damn. OTK. Finish. Continue, brother.
Thank you. Hey, Sister Nepal. Hey, listen, if you want to have a bill, because I see that you're trying to push your narrative on us, and we're not trying to push what we study on you, and you're putting words in our mouth and stuff like that when we didn't, and you're putting words in David Eltis' mouth. You bring up a 14-year-old source. Is this really source up or shit up over here? You bring up something 14 years ago. And my sister done brought up something that had happened this year? And you saying, oh, what he said back then trumps what he's saying now. No, sis, that's not how that works. I remember when pseudo killers was telling y'all, update y'all information.
Number one, pseudo killers can't tell nobody nothing. They don't even know how to pronounce the damn word. They don't know how to pronounce the words on the scientific level. So nobody nothing. Come on, brother. Y'all take them serious. We don't.
That was cute.
Facts.
I didn't say I took them serious. I was just taking the
No,
word
no, you use them as a point of reference. Like, come on, who the hell are they?
I was talking about a
The
little
biggest goddamn pseudos on the
that he's saying. He just,
Hold up.
Facts.
yeah,
Hold
just
up,
a saying. That's all.
Hold up, stop. I use what they say as a narrative. That's all. When they say, yo, level up y'all information, y'all got to update y'all information.
But they got to update theirs, though. They got to update theirs.
Correct. And that's why they say that. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying nothing about their information. I just like that saying that they do. You got to calm down, Si. I ain't saying this.
No, I'm not banging on you or nothing. I'm saying they don't want no smoke. They don't want no smoke, man.
No, not even
Ain't
a little.
none of
They don't want no smoke, brother.
OTK, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
No.
Okay, so
No, let OTK finish what he was saying first.
Yeah, but I mean, when you finish, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, I'm through, man.
Let him
Go
finish.
ahead.
Let OTK finish.
Go ahead. I'm through. Go ahead, Elder.
Go ahead, Si.
When I get dark,
Okay, so OTK, let's reason as wise men, me and you. Your people don't want to be of the and believe you know something that you're not of the African. Please just separate from us. We don't need y'all. Y'all don't need us. Let's separate because it's going on every day and all day and night. Let me finish.
No, hold up. We need each other, brother.
No, we do not. We do not, Si, because I'm gonna show you why. Ultimately, they don't want to be with the African, which we know not one of our people have ever said we wasn't African from day one, the first shift, all the way to now, no matter who mixed with us from this side of the continent. So if y'all want to do it like, just like, in, with the blacks and Hispanics going on right here in LA right now with these riots, they don't want to eat with us or nothing, but now they want to be our brother. You know what I'm saying? They want to talk about come help us with this ICE stuff. Brother, it's like this. It's too short and late in the game. We know we Africans. Y'all ain't African, then beat it.
Wait a minute, what the Africans ever do for you?
Hold up,
nothing.
You want to know? You want to know? I don't want to go back and forth. You're not answering. You're just talking.
When we go through bull crap over here, we marching, we doing whatever we doing. I don't see no Africans fighting with me when I'm on these streets of Wilmington, making sure what's going on when something goes on negatively here. I don't see no Africans even coming to the African festivals that we have. So you just running
that's your area. So then, if that's how you feel, roll with them people. But that ain't gonna stop us as the African American people. What you talking about? You a small cult. You just a little side cult biting at us.
Nothing.
We not worried about y'all. We not worried about y'all. We not worried about y'all.
You live right here, and they're not doing nothing for you.
You're lying. You're not telling the truth.
Why everybody talking and nobody getting muted? Folks should be getting muted out because everybody talking out at once.
Exactly. I was the one speaking. I should be able to finish my speech. She jumped straight out and started talking.
But bet a grown ass man right here, bro. You don't have to disrespect no woman like that. A real
no, they didn't disrespect no woman or no grown.
Yeah, what you just was saying just now. But everything good, bro. So what I'm gonna ask you is, can you show us what African and what ship they came off that you descend from? Let's go. Can you show us which ship you descend off?
You're muted.
Yeah, right.
Hold up, man. Am I muted or I'm not muted? What's going on?
Now you're not. Go ahead.
Okay, because that was a tricky situation. Shaw kicked me out and he brought me back. But my thing is this. I don't have to show you a ship right now, verbatim or wrong answer. I don't have to. That's a game that y'all keep playing with us. We know for a fact, if you look in the history books, our people called ourselves African from day one. Not no Jesse Jackson stuff. We can show that. We know that.
Jesse Jackson was 19.
Yeah, we're talking about the beginning of the time. We talking about the beginning of the slavery.
Hold up. What I'm asking
History books were funded by Carnegie Hall and Rockefeller Foundation.
Excuse me, OTK, I'm gonna let you go. I just want to say this. After you speak, OTK, I'm gonna let Chuck Weller come in, and then we can let you close out. This was great, though. I'm gonna be real. I appreciated you coming in, OTK. So finish what you're saying, OTK, and then we can let the brother come in, and then we let you close out.
Oh, my bad. I didn't know I was interrupting you, man, because there's so much confusion.
No, you're not. Go ahead. You finish your thought.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate you too. You know what I mean? But brother, Does your genealogy, can you find an African in your genealogy?
Are you asking me? Because I'm getting cut off and played right now, so I can't really.
Yeah, I just
I
want
don't
to
know if
have a
I'm talking to you.
conversation with you right
Okay,
now.
first of all, for the record, I didn't disrespect the sister, but I didn't agree with her. If that's disrespect, that's so be it. But that's how that go. Second of all, to you, yeah, I can show my genealogy through my DNA test and all. But when you
No,
talk about when you talking about a book,
hold
wait a minute. When you talking about a book, that's like a scam that they used to run on black people in the world, knowing that we didn't have no stop nothing. See, when I get to talking, you get to talk about that stop. That's what started the war.
Hey, listen,
Because I'm trying to finish my point. I'm trying to finish my point, homie.
Your face don't scare nothing, dog. Take them goddamn knots out your
Come on,
forehead.
man. Come on, y'all. Come on.
I think we should close out.
Man, you talking to me, man? I slap fire from your bitch ass. You talking to?
And you will get slapped.
He slow down. He's talking about hitting people.
Hey, sa.neter, we gotta let this brother. Excuse me, we gotta let this
Indian
brother.
history make people like this. This is crazy work, dog.
No, this was good though. OTK, can we have this Chalkweiler? Go ahead and ask the brother your question, and then we're gonna let OTK close out. Chalkweiler.
Peace to the panel. How everybody doing on the panel? In the chat. Hey, Mr. OTK, who are the mound builders and where are they located at?
The mound builders are located in the southeast corridor, man. They also stretch up into the Midwest corridor and going up what we call the Mississippi River.
Okay, so who are the Mississippi culture and people? And how far back do they go back, if you have the information?
We really don't know how far they go back. We only know time as far as when they started taking time and writing it in there. But our time that we took, though, they don't know. That's why they was off. That's why they had to change their calendar so many times, because they didn't know we rolled off the sun and the moon, because we rolled off of nature.
I got another question for you.
We really don't know how long our people's them been here, bro. Like, for real. Old people been anywhere. See, I don't believe that everybody come from America and went everywhere else now. I don't believe in that. I believe that it was life started everywhere, maybe not at the same time, but life started in multiple places. I truly believe that.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you because nature shows you that. Nature shows you that in the plant kingdom. It shows you that in the sea life kingdom. It shows you in the insect kingdom that there's different variations of species that
right. That's why I don't knock nobody greatness.
Exist on different
chat, since you know, have you ever seen me knock any greatness of Africa, bro? And what they did? I said, no, y'all let them boys keep them boys' greatness, because that's what they did. Y'all let them Asians keep their greatness, because that's what they did. That's how we can keep our greatness over here.
But go back to the books, because they talking about the history, but a lot of those was funded by the Carnegie Hall and Rockefeller, and that was like the 1950s, 1950 something. So a lot of the information that they putting out was not information prior to that. You know what I mean? So they trying to rewrite history. But are you familiar with Robert Finley? I put it in the chat. I don't know if anybody on the panel familiar with Robert Finley.
Robert Finley, nah, but you know the Smithsonian.
Yeah, Robert Finley.
Oh, definitely was from Rockefeller. That's what started the Smithsonian. And
Robert Finley, he was one of the founders of the American Colonization Society, and in 1815, 1816, something. And that was the original movement to
all that shit was up north, bro.
Get American so-called Black Indians people to go to Liberia and create a colony over in Liberia.
North, bro. They act. You talking about?
Yeah, he's from New Jersey. Yeah. Robert Finley.
North, bro. All that shit up north.
No. You're correct. He was born in New Jersey, but he went to Georgia. Georgia and South Carolina is the area where a lot of the so-called slaves was coming in.
All right, no profanity, y'all. No profanity, brother. Let me say to Sister Freedom, OTK, the Realist, sa.neter, and all the other Indians out there. If you was to take a trip over there, or if they was to catch you in the Sudan, you would be goddamn telling them you are an American. You are not going to say you are an Indian.
Yes,
Because
I
because you
They
know,
would eat us.
hold on.
Yes, I will be.
Hold on, because you know they will not be letting you go over there. But see, America have a little power where they're not just gonna slaughter you and kill you because they know how America get down. You will tell them in a minute that I'm an American.
I am an American.
I'm
Where
an
they
American. Hold up, you would tell them that I am an African American.
They're going to tell us that we're American. They're not going to say African American. They're going to say.
Hold on. When stuff hit the fan, when that white man come and that policeman come, you ain't gonna tell them what's your nationality. Oh, I'm an American. I'm an Indian. You ain't gonna say none of that, man. And guess what? And guess what? That only matters to us because sometimes a lot of us are small-minded. The white man see all of us as niggas. It don't matter to him. He see you.
It's supposed to matter to us. That's the whole point. It's supposed to matter to us.
Hold on, brother. He see you, Rakufu. He see OTK as the same niggas. Simple. And me too. OTK, Rakufu, me, the Saw 7, King J, Freedom. All of us are niggas. That's all nigga stuff only matters to us, man. That's
the thing is though, if you claim African American,
they'd be so slow.
You can get deported by ICE.
Say that again, brother.
If you claim an African American, what are you claiming descendant of? Immigrant?
No, America, brother.
What the hell you talking about?
African American. Hold on. Let's stay within the content. You claim an African American, correct?
They know what you are when you say African American.
What does African American mean, bro?
They don't know
That means that these are the Africans that was born in America, brother.
All right, so is that not an immigrant?
That these Africans are from America.
I'm American.
Is that not an immigrant?
No, you're an American with African side. Let me say it the correct way.
Indigenous
What are they?
people.
Migrants? Are they migrants? Hold up. Stop, y'all. Stop. Are they migrants, Uncle Sa? What are they?
Descendants of slaves. Descendants of African slaves. That's what they are.
Stop, y'all. Stop. All right. Where did they come from?
Africa.
All right, then. So that means they're a migrant to America, correct? Or immigrant?
Does that mean the white man is a migrant to America too? Then he can be deported.
You ever heard of the Emancipation Proclamation? You ever heard of the Emancipation Proclamation, the 14th, 15th, and the 16th Amendment, brother?
That was for the Irish.
Now you're messing up because
one mic, y'all. One mic.
For the Europeans.
Can I speak, Sal? Because I can speak to this very well.
One mic. Everybody, one mic. Everybody, calm down for a minute, man. Don't take yourself off mute till I take you off. When I bring you up. So let me ask you, Robin.
Yes,
what? Because the Hebrew Israelites claim that your true religion were Hebrew. Are you?
No, I don't even want to go there with the weirdness because
you're on the 12 tribe chart. The Indians are on the 12 tribe chart.
Made up bull crap. I don't got nothing to do with that. I don't disrespect the Hebrew Israelites. I don't want to disrespect nobody's way of life as long as it make them good people. But I don't live in fairy tale land. That's what
all right. Hey, we're gonna let brother OTK close us out. Hey, OTK, I want to say, please, brother, do not let this scare you from coming back, man. This is what we do with the Israelites. We do this all the time. People do it to Jabari. Y'all see them. Y'all see that. So don't let this scare you. Don't be, man, they ain't gonna let me over there. They don't let me. Don't do that, y'all. Come on, man. This is the toughest environment for a reason.
He held his own. He held his own.
Sister Nepal, Goddess Nepal, my fault, because I know this is source up of shut up. I did show my sources that I showed at the beginning that was coming from universities and stuff like that. But don't worry. Next time I come back through, I will have my sources ready because we really do research. I'm not saying everything that I research it has to be true, but we got to put this in consideration.
Yeah. All right. I want to give everybody a minute to close out. I'm going all the way around. You just got a minute, y'all. Just close us out, man. Willie Daniels, close us out.
All right, I'm gonna close this out real quick. No, none of these Aboriginals can speak their own language. They don't show no culture. They're not seen nowhere in no history books. You know, I'm trying to figure out how sa.neter claims she don't have no African lineage, but she claimed Creole. That makes no sense to me. I'm like blown away from that. So until they can actually show us some information, Napa is 100% right. She gave up a solid source that really they can't argue against. Until they can bring up some information against that, they're done. They die by their own source. That's how we get down over here. Y'all have a good night.
All right. Thank you, brother. Y'all can exit out. Ra Kufu, let's go, brother.
All right. Apologies for my profanities. I'm passionate about this, and Nepal was 100% on source. Now, the first Americans were Africans, revisited by David Imhotep. Somebody check out David Imhotep, PhD author. But what he means by that, he don't mean that we sprung up like the other brother was saying. There's many species that's how species do. No, you can't mate certain monkeys with other monkeys from different parts of the world. They don't mate. All humans can mate, meaning we coming from a common ancestor. Peace.
Peace.
I want to say when I first met Sister Freedom and Dots, when I first met Sister Freedom and my sister Dots, they were Africaned out, man. They were African out, y'all. Sister Freedom, no, you can't lie on that. And to prove it, I'm talking, sister. To prove it, when you look at her house, Sister Freedom have African statues all over the goddamn place. In the basement, up top, all of that. Now, she done got over there with Top Cat. Now the statues are hitting. I don't see them no more. I don't see the African statues no more, Sister Freedom. So I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you go ahead and close out. Go ahead, Sister Freedom.
First of all, let me let you know I'm just a person that love art. Okay. Not only do I got African art, I got Indian, if that's what you want to call it, art, or early copper American art. I got Buddhas all over my house. I just love art. Jamaican stuff. My children are Jamaican. I like art, period.
You're African out when I first met you.
I don't have anything, make it clear. I have nothing against people, African people. I have nothing against African people. If a person wants to be African or call themselves African, I ain't got no problem with that. And I never said that I didn't have African people maybe in my bloodline somewhere. I don't know. Don't really even care. All I know is I am an American, okay? Indian is a misnomer. It is a nickname for the indigenous people of this land, okay? I just think when I hear a lot of people talk like, didn't you just hear this? And somebody come right behind it saying something weird. You know what I'm saying? Or something that just don't make no sense, manipulating and mixed up something somebody else done said and putting words in people's mouths. And I just don't know where the mindset of the people are. It's just crazy. But I do know this. Ain't nobody over the age 50. Grandmom told them or close to it that they was nobody's African. I'm sorry. So if y'all want to make yourself believe that, because we believe there's a man walking in the sky that done had a baby by a little girl that's human. I mean, so
all right.
Are you now? See, that wasn't right.
All right, go ahead. Finish off.
Y'all know half of y'all still believing in Santa Claus. I mean, I don't know. Y'all just whatever, just if you want to be African, be it. I don't care.
All right, let me go to Welder. Let's go.
Yeah, peace. I'm here. Yeah, I just want to say, man, salute to everybody, man. One of the first identity changes was through religion. As you do the research, it's a document you can look up. 1725 Christian black codes. One of them was in Louisiana. You can start checking in and see how they come up with these religious laws to enslave people. That was definitely used to enslave a lot of people here on this land. Um, even some of the Europeans that y'all forget to bring, they came here. They were slaves, the Irish, the Scots. A lot of them were slaves when they first came here. So I don't know why people keep trying to include them, the so-called failed Europeans, and they just trying to focus on so-called black or African slavery. Because if you really check the routes, they had to go through Europe. A lot of the Africans went through the Parliament, and throughout the American Civil War, American Revolutionary War, um, a lot of the Parliament was taken. Some Africans, Americans, some American Indians, and some Europeans, the mixture that they was bringing over here and mixing with some of the American Indians from Virginia, South Carolina, Georgia. They started taking to places like Nova Scotia. They started taking to places like Senegal and build colonies funded through the Parliament and the abolitionists. You can look it up. It's a movie or a documentary called something about the Negroes. I'll probably get the information to OTK because they got a name of the so-called Negroes and where they sent them to. And these were some of the mixtures that they mixed with some of the European mixture and some of the American Indian mixture that they was taking them to other places off this landmass. So peace and blessings.
Peace.
All right, peace. Saw 7 of Saw. Let's go.
All right. I just want to say that this is the toughest environment to be in. And a collection of the biggest reasons of why it is when you come into this environment, you're going to get corrected. We've all been corrected. We all have been proven wrong and had to stand in it. Now, the tough ones that can stand in this environment will stand in a correction and then come back with more information. We don't run here. We stand in the correction, we edify ourselves, and we don't try to fool each other. Like let's talk about that number of slaves. No one on this panel ever made a claim of millions of slaves on here. But there was a big point made that David Ennis talked about how small the slaves was. Nobody spoke on that. And the Queen did an excellent job of not only correcting that narrative, but also showing how your source goes against your own narrative. And this is what happens in the toughest environment to be in. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to proclaim right now today, I, Seven Asar, am the black mamba of the house of consciousness. So don't shake this tree and let the mamba loose, because I'm going to stand there and correct you with the facts, like most of my brothers and sisters here on this panel, because we stand on truth, we source up, we shut up, and if we are edified, we allow that edification to be applied. So I want to say peace to everybody on the panel, peace to everybody on the chat, and I'm out.
Shut up because you damn sure didn't source up tonight. So
Yo, y'all can't do that, man. You can't do that. The brother closing out. Y'all can't cut him off on his closeout, y'all. Because you're going to have the OTK. You're going to have the opportunity to close out. You unlimited because you're the guest. Your closeout is unlimited, brother. You're going to be able to say what the hell you want all the way through. You can address everything. So let the brother close out. So,
yeah, I'm finished, sir. Let the brother close out.
Okay.
Peace. Thank you.
Okay, let me go to the sister, the realist. Before you get on the realist, are you willing to have a discussion or debate with Nepal?
I wouldn't mind having a discussion with her. Obviously she's intelligent and so am I. So I would not.
Both of y'all, all right, that's good.
I would not mind obliging the conversation depending on what it is and things like that. So
okay,
well,
that's good.
That sounds great.
Okay,
don't let them talk you out of it.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the abos. I'm joking.
I wouldn't mind it at all. I mean, I've never debated anyone actually. Like I'm relatively new in
not a debate, it could be a discussion. That'll be a good discussion.
That's just cool. You know, I'm relatively new in the Aboriginal streets. You know, like I found Indians in my direct lineage, And that's the reason why I'm on board with the Aboriginal and Indigenous paradigm, because if I'm finding this in my genealogy, I know others are finding it as well. And I think the only thing that always boggles me about the African slave trade narrative is that, and I even talked to Eltis about this. Like I said, I want y'all to go check out the interview because it wasn't biased and it was highly just, me just asking him questions, like not trying to sway him to one side or another, but just asking him questions based on the work that he's done. But I will say this, that ultimately, I have yet to find an African ancestor in my family line. When I'm talking about someone that I can
have you ever taken a DNA test?
No, I have not. But my genealogy does speak for itself.
Try to take a DNA test.
Yeah. See, here's the thing about here's the thing about DNA. Like, I mean, I feel like DNA is a relatively new technology. It's a new type of information and a new science, if you will. And they have not really thoroughly done the research to fully connect people to a landmass and say that they can determine their race or where somebody is from based off of spit. So I do think that that research has a long way to go. But I will say that I can go off what my family says, what the records say about my actual family. And, that's what I have to go off. You know what I'm saying? I heard the whispers when I was a young child. So it just is what it is, and I have to stand on who's the Indians in my family and what that means and why it's important for us to ultimately learn the truth. Like, and as far as, and I don't mean to be long-winded, but as far as the transatlantic slave trade thing goes, I want to always highlight the numbers because throughout history, we know that the numbers have went from this to that to this, and no one is really able to truly pinpoint the true accuracy of this narrative. And until that is fixed, I'm standing on business about us already being here and been here. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you guys for letting me up. And
yeah, really, don't go nowhere. Dulcinea, also you too, sister Dulcinea. If you want a part 2, because you and Nepal had got it in a few times, if you want a part 2, we open for that too. You're welcome. And to the
who keeps talking about me having locks? Yeah, I've only had locks since 2021. I haven't actually curly hair pattern or texture. Not that it matters, but me having locks doesn't have anything to do with it. Thank you.
To the realist, when we talk about DNA, the first thing people say is, "Oh, I don't trust DNA. DNA is not real." Now I know rape DNA and all that is different, but it's still DNA. And let's say a sister is raped or a brother gets falsely accused of it, they run to DNA because they know that DNA can free them. You see what I'm saying? So you don't hear them this time saying, "Oh no, I don't want no DNA." They behind is locked up in jail, and the only thing that can free them and prove to them, to the world, that they didn't do it is what? They run to the DNA. Let's take a DNA test. Let's see if that baby's really mine. And we're going to determine that through the spit. And we're going to determine that through other things. So if it's real for these situations, why it can't be real for this one?
So let's talk about what you said, Uncle sa.neter, because boom,
they can
there's
never
a difference between paternal DNA. There's a difference between the people.
I know.
That actually, and also even DNA evidence in terms of finding out if someone commits a crime, right? So if we're talking about DNA that actually says, "Hey, these are the people that you match with that actually took the test within the database," those are two different things. Those are not the same. So if we're talking about, hey, you know what? I did my DNA test and they took me to an African. His name is Shaka Zulu, or whatever
they ain't gonna do it like that. They ain't gonna do that.
But why not?
They're gonna tell you where you're from.
Hold up, Okusa, because if they putting us in multiple places, where we're talking about multiple places, different places in Africa. I just read an article to my audience about how they didn't even find any of our so-called African-American DNA matching with the people from Mozambique and Angola. I just read that. So there's a lot of different things that, I think that just has to be developed when we talk about actually pinpointing you to a place and then letting that place determine your race and who you are. That's all. Okay. I don't think it's the same as, being able to find, a criminal that committed a crime or a father. I don't think that that's the same.
Okay.
That's a little bit different. That's
all right. All right. Point taken. Sister Freedom, close us out.
Yes. Closed out, I thought. Can we?
Oh, you want?
Oh, Sister Freedom did close out.
They never connect you to your family, just like you said, Sharice. They can get this DNA thing, and it's a new gimmick to make money. First of all, it's just for entertainment. Because what side, just like she said, they can never connect you to anybody in your family in Africa. They can say, "Oh, you from Nigeria." What? Nigeria wasn't even there. Wasn't even there. So, but where's my family in Nigeria? How you know I'm related to somebody in Nigeria and America started Liberia and Nigeria? I don't want to hear that. That mess is whack, weird, and it don't even make no sense.
Okay, Nepal, close us out.
Twisted.
Yeah, I think OTK probably fell asleep by now. How late is it?
I'm still here. I'm just after he told me to practice decorum and stuff, and it looked like I was being outraged, and I just chill, yo.
No. My closeout is this. OTK, I want to say I appreciate you. Me coming in with the information, it wasn't directly and only exclusively toward you. In fact, you come in with a lot of respect, and you don't really say no. You made it clear that you don't say no. There aren't any Africans that are any blacks who are descended of Africans. So I appreciate you. I just know that the tomfoolery of using sources, and I'm not talking about you. I'm not scared like Dulcinea. I'm gonna talk about Dulcinea coming in behind me trying to say people don't know a source. I will always bust your pinata open, you're my daughter. Okay, baby. So I just had to bring in the information on Eltis to remind her and everybody else that you have to bring sources, and they have to be valid sources to support your argument. And you can always get it in with me again, Dulcinea. I see you in the chat talking about there wasn't a poll. If you need votes on a debate with me, if that's going to help you, I'm more than happy to put up some polls for you, Dulcinea. So the door is always open, always open for you to come in and get your butt whipped again in the debate. As for everyone else, thank you so much for being here. OTK, I hope you come back. You held your own. You are battle tested. You've been doing this a long time. So it's all respect and it's all love for you. I appreciate you being here in the HOK. The toughest environment, Nisha. The toughest and the smartest. Don't come in here playing in our faces. We are the ones over here who will get all up in your ass. Pause. If you try
so will we from Unscrambled Minds. We'll get all of.
Bye. No, you won't, because we're not going to do that. We're not doing that, Robin. You're not going to come in here acting.
Come on, y'all. Stop. Don't do all that, y'all. Stop that.
No. She needs to stop.
No, I don't need.
Yo.
First of all, I wasn't talking to her. I wasn't talking to her.
All right, yo, but I told you nobody control the panel.
Robin, don't do that. Don't do that. Let's not ruin the show. Don't do
Let
that.
her finish closing out. Robin, she got to close
closing
out.
You don't have to come in here and do all that. Nobody was talking to you. Okay, don't do that, Robin.
You're wrong on that, Rob.
Very wrong. Okay,
because that's her closeout, though. Come on.
Yeah, and I can address people. What is wrong with you, Robin? Stop. Thank you. Decorum. Anyway, OTK, I'm gonna let you go ahead and have it, because like I said, this is the
hold up. Robin, the reason why she said that, because see, you didn't chastise your sister.
Yeah.
You was in the chat talking crazy smack. When the brother said this is the toughest environment, she said no, it's not. So that's shade on us. We ain't been dissing her or nothing like that. She was talking crazy, all in the chat. Until we just I got tired of it. And then let me finish. And then I got tired of it, and I just timed her out for 24 hours. I did that because nobody was banging on her or Unscrambled Minds. So that's why Nepal said that to her and called her name. Because she was in the chat all night just going crazy.
So don't jump out the window for people.
It's been a lot of little slippies said. So okay, I'm gonna just leave it alone. I'm just
Thank you.
Come on, we ain't arguing about that. Come on, y'all.
It has nothing to do with you. I don't know why you did all that. Like I said, I'm gonna say it again. This is the HOK. and we do scholarship and sources, and we don't do messiness, but we will meet you where you are. Okay, that's my point. Don't do that, because you don't forget who I am.
And don't forget
All right.
who you are. That's why you got checked. Right.
All right. Yo, come on, stop, y'all. All right, enough, y'all. Enough, man. I don't want that. All right, OTK, take us home, brother. You got unlimited.
Hey, yo, man. Peace and love to you, Uncle Sai, man. And peace and love to HOK. You know, I'll be back, man. You know, that's why I didn't do that long of it, because I already know that when people are indoctrinated at the level of this environment over here, I know it's going to take time to get people to even understand. I guarantee you 90% of your peoples them from the South understand where I'm coming from, because like you said, my grandmama said it. So if my grandmama and my grandparents say that I'm Indian, why I can't say that?
Yes.
Why I got to be called an African? And y'all got to make me be an African American. That's crazy. So Sai, I appreciate you, man. I wanted to keep that bill genuine as the way it was, man. And yeah, I'll be back next week, man, and we can keep on going. If we're gonna get into some of these Indian agents. A lot of people who started this African American movement, these abolitionists. We're gonna get into that. You know? So
right.
Everything good. Thank you, OTK family out there, man. Sister Cherise, Sister Dosey, Sister Freedom, Goddess Nepal for coming through. All the brothers them that came through, man. Appreciate y'all too. And definitely appreciate you, Uncle Sai.
All right. Peace, brother. Thank you for coming through. Appreciate you. Peace and black power to everybody, man. Thank y'all, man. We out, lady. Yeah.
Okay, just so everybody know that.
What'd you say?
I said I love